hands, we lift our voice to celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. YouNow is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. YouNow is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. YouNow is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. YouNow is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. YouNow is the awesome Yah. There's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. YouNow is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome Yah, There's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands. We lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. You are the awesome God. There's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome God. There's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome God. There's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. You are the awesome God. There's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. You are the awesome God. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Great rising as we gather together in this place to commemorate and celebrate our Sabbath rest. That's right, a time that we pull away from our daily chores and we celebrate and we commemorate a time of rest. I want to say Torah to all of you that are tuned in on today to be a part of what we're doing and a part of this great celebration. Once again, it is a time of rest, to rest our physical body as well as our minds. But while we're resting, we want to make sure that we are putting something in our minds. You know, there's a saying, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And so we want to make sure that there is no room for the enemy to come in and do or say anything that would get us off track. So on today, we're going to begin with the Baruch of the Torah as we've gathered together in this place. Repeat with me. Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we will have the reading of the 10 Commandments that will be done by Apostle Brown, coming from the book of Debiram, chapter 5, verses 6 through 22. And it is so. And it is so.
And it is so.
Aleph. I am Yahuwah your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the days of slavery. Bet, you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the man beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the hours upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. Dalet, guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, honor your Abba and your Ima as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land in which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. Why? You shall not murder. Zain, neither shall you commit adultery. Het, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's wife, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Now we're going to turn our attention to the book of Debiram, chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. Excuse me. Once again, it is important that we understand repetition. Repetition is what helps us to develop and grow. This is why we have a regimen and a schedule. No matter what in life, you're going to always have something that you have to do consistently. Why? Because the more we do it, the better we get at it. And so we're going to begin once again in the book of Debiram, chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. And it reads, "These are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments which I command you, you and your son and your grandson all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yisrael, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah our supreme one, Yahuwah is Akkad. Shemath Yisrael, Yahuwah our Savior, Yahuwah is Akkad. And you shall ahaba Yahuwah your supreme one with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart." Where are these words supposed to be?
In our hearts.
Say it again. Where are they supposed to be?
In our hearts.
In our hearts. For out of the abundance of the heart, what? The mouth speaks. So in order for us to be able to execute and to do what is necessary, we have to have the Torah, the writings, the scroll in our hearts. "And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall, to what?
Bind to the mind.
Say it again.
To bind to the mind.
To bind to the mind. That means if we bind it to our mind, that means it ought to be stuck in here.
Right.
Because it's already in here. If it's already in here, then it shouldn't be a problem with binding it to the mind. That means securing it to our mind so that we don't forget. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore to your Abbas, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you filled not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power, and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies and his statutes, which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land, which Yahuwah swore unto your fathers. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let us have a song, please.
Be magnified, be magnified, be magnified. Someone be magnified. Someone be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens, be magnified in the earth, be magnified in the temple, be thou magnified, be magnified. Be magnified, be magnified in the heavens, be magnified in the earth, be magnified in the temple. Be thou magnified, be thou magnified, be magnified in the heavens, be magnified in the earth, be magnified in the temple. Be thou magnified, be magnified, be magnified, be magnified, be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens, be magnified in the earth, be magnified in the temple. Be thou magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in the temple. Be thou magnified. Be thou be thou magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in the temple. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified.
As we're gathering here together once again, it is our time of Sabbath class, a time to commemorate and a time to celebrate, a time that we let him know how much we appreciate him through our obedience. Through our obedience. Mishlei 15:8, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yah. But the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Mishlei 3:4, so shall we find great understanding and high esteem in the sight or judgment of Yahuwah and man. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 34:15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, and the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth us out of all our troubles. I've made it personal. And it is so.
And it is so.
Acts 1:8, but we shall receive power after that the Ruach HaKodesh is come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him, both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Shamara and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 1:1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the instructions of Abba Yah, and he doth meditate upon it. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Ibram 11:6, but without belief it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is a rewarder of them that what?
Diligently seek him.
Diligently seek him. It takes belief to be our obedient, diligent discipline. Ayah 33:4, the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody say he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Say it again, he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Micah 4:8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yisrael his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Yehukanan Moshiach 11:24, which we know in the English as Mark reads, therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire when you pray, believe that you receive them and you shall have them. That is a promise unto us. We've got to believe what we're asking Abba Yah for. If we don't believe it, we won't receive it. It has to also be in line with his writings. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
You can't just ask him for something off the wall because he's not going to give it to you. And if you do get it, you better know that it's not from Abba Yah. It's not from him. So once again, it's important that we understand that he is a prayer answering Savior, but we got to make sure it's in line with the scrolls. Yehukanan Aleph, chapter 5, verse 4 and 5. For whatsoever is born of Yahuwah overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our belief. Who is he that overcometh the world? But he that believeth that Yahusha is the Son of Yahuwah. Yehukanan Aleph, chapter 2, 5 and 6. But whoever keeps his Torah, truly the Ahava of Yahuwah is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. He who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk just as he walked. Verse 17, and the world passes away and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Yahuwah abideth forever. Somebody say abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
Say it again like you mean it. Abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let's have another song, please.
For who you are, Yahuwah the great Yah, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great Yah, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great Yah, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great God, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Halle, halle, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah the great Yah, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great Yah, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great Yah, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great Yah, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Halle, halle, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah the great God, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great God, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great God, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah the great God, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Halle, halle, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Halle, halle, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, for who you are, you are the great God. We sing the highest praise. For who you are, for who you are, you are the great God. We sing the highest praise. For who you are, for who you are, you are the great God. We sing the highest praise. For who you are, for who you are, you are the great God. We sing the highest praise. For who you are, for who you are, you are the great God. We sing the highest praise. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Halle, halle, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, for who you are, you are the great God. We sing the highest praise. For who you are, for who you are, you are the great God. We sing the highest praise. For who you are, for who you are, you are the great God. We sing the highest praise. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Halle, halle, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Halle, halle, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, for life, health, and strength. We told you, Abba Yah, for every breath that we take. We told you, Abba Yah, for your guidance, for your continual compassion and passion for us, your people, as you continue to reveal it to us through the scrolls. We told you, Abba Yah, for yet one more day that we may celebrate you and to give you esteem in this place and in this time. We told you, Abba Yah. Come on, give him some praise. Hallelujah, Abba Yah is not dead, he's yet alive. And because he's alive and he lives in us, we are alive.
And we are a lively stone, and a lively stone ought to make noise every now and then. People ought to be able to see that you believe in who you're serving. People ought to be able to see that you truly believe that Abba Yah is alive. And because he is alive, you can praise him. The song says, just because he lives, I can face tomorrow. And life is worth the living. Just because he lives. That's enough to praise him. Hallelujah. Because he lives. And not he just doesn't live, but he lives on the inside of me. And if he lives on the inside of you, then you ought to praise him because you are alive on today. Leviticus chapter 11, verses 13 through 22. Once again, repetition is so important for us in our learning and our development. It is so important that we understand the scrolls, that everything that we read is preparing us, not just for where we're going, but for where we are right now. Right. How to govern our lives, how to be able to maintain our consistency, our emotions, and maintain ourselves even in the midst of opposition, in the midst of tragedy, in the midst of trials, in the midst of our hearts being broken, in the midst of things that at times we feel like, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through these things? We still have to know how to maintain our lifestyle in Abba Yah. So these are the writings that he's given unto us that we may live and remember. Because remember, our ancestors and forefathers got in trouble because they forgot. We do not want to forget. I know I don't.
That's right.
I don't want to forget. Because when we forget, what happens? Whenever you forget something, you end up repeating what? The same thing over. So we don't want to do what they did, and we don't want to make our own path to destruction. Verse 13 says, and it shall come to pass, if you listen carefully to my commandments, which I command you this day, to Ahava Yahuwah your power, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your corn and your wine and your oil. And I will send grass in your fields for your cattle, that you may eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other power and worship them. This is important that we understand what he said in verse 16. Take heed to who? Yourself. It is important that we take heed to ourselves before we can take heed to somebody else's life.
That's right.
Are you understanding me? Yes. It's important that we do that. Excuse me, that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other power and worship them. And Yahuwah's wrath be ignited against you, and he shut up Shemayim, that there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit, unless you perish quickly from off the great land which Yahuwah gives you. Therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall, to bind to the mind. Every time he gave us something, it is to show us that it's important that we bind it to our mind so that we never forget it.
That's right.
Because we know if we bind something, most of the time when we fix something or we're binding it, because we're trying to bind it forever. We're trying to make sure we maintain it and keep it years and years down the road.
That's right.
So verse 19 says, and you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them upon the doorposts of your bed and upon your gates, that your days may be multiplied. Excuse me, and the days of your children in the land which Yahuwah swore unto your Abbas to give them, as the days of Shemayim upon the earth. For if you shall carefully keep all these commandments which I command you, to do them, to Ahava Yahuwah your power, and to walk in all his halakha, and to cling unto him. And once again, summing verse 23 up means that he will give us the victory if we walk in everything that he's commanded us. First and foremost, you got to ahava him. You got to cling to him. You know how sometimes, I've said this before, in relationships, you have people that say, oh, they're too clingy. Man, every time you turn around, they're right there on it. Well, that's the way we're supposed to be with Abba Yah. We're supposed to cling to him, because you have to understand, he's not like man. He ain't going to tell you, move back, you too close. He's not going to tell you calling me too much. He's not going to tell you that you are nosy. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He's not going to tell you move back because you are invading my what? Space.
Right. That's right.
He's not going to tell us that. But what he does is he welcomes us into his space. And guess what? It's enough room for all of us to get in there without pushing and shoving and without getting jealous, because he has enough for all of us.
That's right.
And this is important for us to understand, that we got to cling unto him and we got to hold on to him, because he's already holding on to us.
That's right.
He's already holding on to us. And that's why we have to remember, it is because of him holding on to us, he tapped on our hearts and woke us up with truth. That's why it's important that we, in turn, do the same thing and hold on to him with dear life and not let him go. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. As we have come to this portion of our class, this is where we do our declaration. I know I had stopped for a minute, and the Ruach Kodesh reminded me to keep it going, because we need to keep this in our hearts as well as in our minds as a people, because we have a goal. We have a goal, and that goal is to unify no matter where we are. It is to unify us as a people, one voice, under one guidance or under one rule, and that is the Torah.
That's right.
And so it's important that we understand that is our goal. That is our goal. And everything else will follow if we will remain with that as the main principle, and that is unifying us. And in our unifying and our unification, we understand that the more we do this, then we can really begin to see our prostituting family come in from being prostitutes.
That's right. That's right.
Giving themselves to any and everything. And we know that ranges from Christianity to everything that opposes the Torah. And so when they see us coming together and see us not just talking about it, but living about it, then they will be encouraged to do the same thing. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, this is our declaration of healing. Repeat with me, Abba Yah,
Abba Yah,
in the name of Yahusha,
in the name of Yahushua,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach,
We subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people, Yisrael.
Yisrael.
We unite,
We unite
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. We have to understand, even if we have differences of opinion, we are still not enemies.
That's right.
That's right.
You're not my enemy. But what is the enemy? The enemy is the opposer of our belief. And even if a person opposes you, you got to look beyond them and see who's using them, and that is Shaitan.
That's right. That's right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
That person is not your enemy. It is the enemy within them that comes to oppose you. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
But the real enemy that we have, and that's a whole different subject we will talk about, but we know the enemy to the children of Yisrael are the Muslims.
Right.
Always keep that in mind, who your real enemy is. Don't ever let people fool you. That is the true enemy of Yisrael. So let's always remember that. But once again, always look beyond the physical being and look and see into the Ruach, into their Ruach, and know who and what is pushing them and motivating them to do what they're doing. And it is so.
And it is so.
As we come to this portion of our time, as we come to seal and to seal our confession and seal our praise, let us bow before our King today and let us recite this together. May the utterance of my mouth,
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock,
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock,
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 15, and it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in His presence as we prepare to go into the scrolls of this great day. Once again, I pray everyone had a shalom night as we prepare to go into the writings. We want to turn our attention once again to the book of Beshalach. That's our theme, Beshalach. And our book is Shema, chapter 14. We've already gone through chapter 13, so we're going to go into chapter 14. When he let go, as we went through and we realized on last night in our pre-Sabbath class, when Pharaoh had let the children of Yisrael go, it took extreme measures to get him to let the children of Yisrael go. And when he did finally let them go, calamity had hit, and it had hit in a hard manner, because this is when all of the firstborn of Mitzrayim died. And so we see the Passover meal, and once again, I find it very, very interesting and prophetic that we will be in a class and we will be learning this while we are making preparations for Pesach. Abba Yah is speaking to us as a people, and he is showing us how to govern ourselves and how not to. He is bringing us to a place to develop and to grow, that we're able to retain and hold on to what it is that he desires for us as his people in this generation to obtain and to hold on to. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
It is important that we understand this. Why? Because once again, you have to understand our redemption draweth what? Nigh. And it's important that we understand the season that we are in. Abba Yah is preparing his people mentally, physically, socially, and economically. He is preparing us. And above all, he is preparing us in our Ruach. And if we're not listening, we're going to miss it.
That's right.
We're going to miss it. Now, I don't know about you all, but all week long, I've been challenged. We've been challenged because of where we're moving to. We're in the countdown now. We only have, maybe a week and a half before Pesach. And the enemy is doing everything he can to make us forfeit it.
That's right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Things can happen and we can repent, but who wants to start all over again? I don't. I don't want to start all over again. But the bottom line is we've got to maintain our consistency and bind the Torah to our mind. Right. Why? Because it's already in your heart. If it's already in your heart, then there's no problem with binding it to your mind. What are we binding? We're binding his instructions. And if you look closely into the scrolls, you see that's one of the things our ancestors and forefathers failed to do. And that was to bind it to their mind so that they would always remember it no matter what situation they got themselves in. Because remember, they always got themselves in these situations. Abba Yah never did. Right. They always put themselves in these positions. So as we read on last night, we see where, as they were coming out, the last and final thing that took place was them going to, when they reached the Sea of Reeds. And when they got there, let me find it because I want to read this to you. They got to this place. This was the last thing they had to deal with. As they got there, Yahuwah led the children of Yisrael in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, and had them turn back from Etham toward Mitzrayim to encamp before Baal Tezbon, and Mitzrayim idle by the Red Sea, or the Sea of Reeds. Now you have to understand, we saw 10 plagues. 10 plagues. But this right here was going to be the final thing that devastated and shut Mitzrayim down. Because Pharaoh took 600 of his men of power, and he took with him, because he had changed his mind and said, nope, I'm not going to let them go. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to let them go. And began to pursue them. And so this was going to be the final straw that would break the camel's back. And this is where Yahuwah was going to finish what he started. Let me tell you something. He never starts something that he's not capable of finishing.
That's right.
If he starts it, you better be rest assured he's going to finish it.
Right.
And it doesn't take a lot, and it doesn't take him to do a lot to finish it. And so he puts them in this place. This is why when we look at our lives, I said it last night and I'll say it again. This is why when we look in our lives, sometimes we get in positions and we feel like we're in between a hard place and a hard rock. And we're saying, I can't go over the rock, so what am I going to do? Be still and know that Abba Yah is your Savior.
That's right. That's right.
Did he not say in the first commandment, I am Yahuwah thy Savior? Yes. That means no matter what situation we find ourselves in, he is willing to deliver us, but we got to believe him.
That's right.
You got to believe him. Why? Because if you don't believe him, when he delivers you, it'll be all in vain. Now, somebody may say, well, why would you say that? Why? Because you will end up losing what you got. Because your belief is what takes you from that point after you're delivered to the next phase.
That's right. That's right.
If you don't make it past that, you will go backwards. Now, mind you, in their mind, they were saying, we need to go back. Because if we had not gone, if we wouldn't have listened to you, we wouldn't be where we are now. There are no graves in Mitzrayim. You hear me? You know how we get to thinking sometimes and overthink things and sometimes think too long and think hard? When we would play dominoes, I played dominoes with my stepfather. He said, you think long, you think wrong.
Right.
That's what he would talk. Now, once again, we are to meditate, and before we make any kind of decisions and choices, we are supposed to pray about it. Right. We are, but there comes a time when you can overthink the thing, when you already know what to do. And you continue to try to rationalize. Well, should I do this or should I not? If it's already confirmed in the scrolls that this is what we're supposed to do, then that's what we're supposed to do. That's right. Don't rationalize it. Don't try to get somebody to come in and support you. If you go outside of truth, you're going to find yourself in trouble. And that's just the bottom line. They found themselves in a position where they felt like he didn't brought us here to die. And I'm sure each one of us can look at our lives and say, I know you didn't bring me here to leave me. That's right. I know you didn't bring me here to leave me. I know you didn't bring me here for me to get to this place. I don't have a boat and I surely can't swim to the other side. So how am I going to get across this? He is going to be our way. He is the vehicle that's going to take us through. Right. But we have to believe that. You got to believe it against all odds. Yes, you do. You have to believe it against all odds. And so when he gets them there, and by the reason so that Pharaoh would be led to believe that the Israelites were lost in the wilderness. According to the Midrash, this idol, the only one that remained undestroyed after Yahuwah sent the 10th plague upon Mitzrayim, was intentionally spared by Yahuwah in order to bait Pharaoh into thinking that Yahuwah of Yisrael was powerless over him. Once again, they had deities all over the place. Right. They had them here, there, everywhere. So in his mind, they didn't got up there and got confused. I thought they was going to celebrate the feast. They don't know what they're doing. So this is our opportune time to get them. Let me tell you something. A lot of times when we are in a situation and we are trying to settle things and trying to get things together, to other people, it may look ridiculous and look like we're unstable. But if you are really following Abba Yah, it makes perfectly good sense to him. That's right. But to others, it'll make you look like you're foolish to them. You can't listen to what other people say if they're not in truth. That's right. If you let what people think about you and say about you that are not in truth, you will go right back into the world. You go back into that way and that mindset. And so this is what happens. And after Pharaoh learned of Yisrael's position, he hardened his heart yet again and led his army to force the Israelites to return to their life of bondage. Now, many of us look and say, ain't nobody forcing me back into no bondage. But you have to understand something. Once again, the enemy is shrewd. That's right. And he doesn't always come in a forceful way. He's cunning. And he knows how to put you in a position that may not be that forceful, but is still trying to force you into a way and a lifestyle you don't want. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's important that, once again, that we undergird ourselves and bind his instructions to our mind because it's residing in our hearts. That's right. Now, when the Mitzrayim cavalry caught up to them, the Israelites were trapped against the sea, and the people were terrified that they were to be slaughtered. Yahuwah then moved the pillar of cloud so that it stood between the Mitzrayim and the Israelites. The cloud grew black, and the Mitzrayim cavalry could no longer see them. Once again, we have to remember, he will switch this thing up where the enemy thinks he's going to get you and he's going to basically overtake you. Yahuwah will put between you and the enemy a thick smoke or a wall, even a wall of confusion where they can't get to you. But this is where, once again, we have to remain and hold to our composure and not let words of doubt, disbelief, and unbelief come out of our mouths. That's right. We can't do that. We can't sit and say, I don't know what he's going to do. I know what he's going to do. He's going to deliver me. How? I don't know, but he's going to deliver me. That's right. That's what has to remain, what has to remain consistently coming out. If it does not, what happens is now you get involved with your own demise. Because instead of your words working with you and for you, they will surely work against you.
That's right.
This is why you have to be careful what proceeds out of your mouth. Only what is edifying should come out of our mouths. That's right. Are you understanding me? If it's not edifying, we need to consider, should we even release it in the atmosphere? Now, the pillar of fire appeared in front of the people, lighting their way. Moshe then raised his staff, and a strong east wind blew and divided the waters, forming a wall of water on the right and left. And the Israelites began to cross safely. Now, mind you, while they're crossing, remember, Mitzrayim is right there, but they can't see what they're doing. They can't see. The enemy will blind, Abba Yah will blind the enemy to where he won't know what you're doing. But once again, you got to remain in place. And that's one of the things as a people we find really hard to do. Maintain that place. Why? Because sometimes we don't know where our place is. And that's the truth. We don't really know. Now let me show you something. There were 12 ways for them to go across the Red Sea. Everybody was not trying to take one pathway. There are 12 tribes and 12 tunnels or 12 paths. That meant everybody knew in which path they were supposed to travel on. There was no get out my way. There was no where you're going. They were organized, and they were in order even when they left Mitzrayim after the Passover. This is why it is important that we understand and know and be in place. Because if you're not in place, how do you know where to go? How do you know what to do? How do you know what is your next execution? How do you know what is supposed to come next? This is what is challenging to us as a people. Why? Because we've got to understand order. Somebody say order.
Order.
It's important that we understand order. And you got to understand, they were following the instructions of Moshe because Moshe was following who? He was following Yahuwah. They had to trust also Moshe. This also deals with community, and it also deals with what? Relationship. You can't follow somebody you don't trust.
That's right.
I'm going to say it again. You can't follow somebody you don't trust, because when you trust somebody, you got to know that that person is hearing from Abba Yah, and you got to follow that. Because if you don't, what happens? You cause a whole lot of conflict.
That's right.
A whole lot of conflict. And the end of the story is that you end up getting in trouble with Abba Yah because you're not following instructions. Now, can you imagine for a moment what it would have been like if everybody was out of order? It would have been chaos. Yes, it would. It would have been chaotic. Everybody running, trying to get here, getting there, folk falling over, running over folk. Not to mention you got your cattle and you got all your stuff. You moving your whole house.
That's right.
And you don't even have a moving van. So you can imagine you have cattle, you have all your stuff and your family. And I'm talking about large families.
That's right.
So they had to be in order, and they had to listen attentively to the instructions. You go down this path. Y'all go down that path. Why? Because this is the path you're supposed to go down. And there was no problem. Nowadays, you say, okay, look, slow your roll now. Slow your roll. Just slow down and listen. We're so quick to do our own thing because that's what we've been accustomed to. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Christianity did a really bad job on a lot of us when it comes down to listening to leadership. Because we're skeptical and we are afraid. And I can understand that because I was in Christianity for years. But one thing we got to learn, this is not Christianity.
That's right.
It doesn't look like Christianity. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
It doesn't sound like Christianity. It does not remotely resemble Christianity.
That's right.
That's why we have to renew our minds. So that we're able to follow. Once again, they followed him because they had to trust him. If you don't trust, that's where problems come in. And this is one of the main things that Abba Yah constantly says. It's about trust, y'all. We got to trust. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Because if we don't trust people over here, we're going to trust when we get home. It ain't like people think in their mind when we get home, everybody going to be scattered. No, we're going to have to meet in the same place. We're going to have to get along in the same place. We're going to be worshiping the same Savior in the same place. So if we can't get it together here, how do we think we're going to get it together over there?
Right.
It's not going to happen. It has to be here. This is our learning grounds, or these are our learning grounds. And we've got to learn so that we're able to move forward.
Yes, that's right.
Now, according to Midrash, we see the sea formed a tent over the heads of the Israelites, protecting them on all sides. Moreover, the water divided into 12 tunnels, one for each tribe. The walls of water were perfectly clear, like translucent glass, so that the tribes could see one another as they crossed. Another midrash says that all the waters of the earth split at the same time as the Sea of Reeds, including rivers and lakes around the world. So once again, when they crossed over, it was dry ground. There was no mud. They wasn't going over there and their shoes would get all muddy. They wasn't going over there, their feet would get all muddy. Their sandals would tear up. They wasn't going over there where their animals would get bogged in. They wasn't going over there where their carriages would get all bogged in. They went across on dry ground. And watch this, they didn't even have to hurry.
That's right.
Abba Yah gave them time to get across, but they also did not shuffle their feet either.
That's right.
You know, basically walking slow. No, they were getting across. Now, once they got across, this is where Abba Yah allowed the Mitzrayim to get in the Sea of Reeds. And they thought for sure, we got them now. And he waited time they got into the middle and let it become mud. All that was held and all that kept the children of Yisrael to get over on safety, to dry ground and to safe place, was now removed. Now Mitzrayim is in there. Pharaoh and 600 of his best men. And when they try to go back, their stuff breaks. Why? Because they realize we're in mud. Now, anybody has ever known when the tide goes in and you've ever been in a place where the water's real high and you walk, if you've ever been on the coast or been in a place by the sea or whatever, and you know that water goes in, when that water goes in, you go walking out there, man, you don't want to get caught out there with that tide. When we used to fish off of the coast, and we would go out there, and that water, we'd be able to walk out, and you'd be looking at the rocks and stuff, and you'd be so far, and we'd be like, no, we don't want to get stuck here. You get stuck here, ain't no telling how deep you're going to be under that water. And so you try to hurry and get out there, and you pulling your leg up. Sometimes we'd have mud on our legs that high up, because it gets really, you can get bogged down in it. That's what happened to them. They couldn't run, they couldn't turn their horses around, they got stuck. And all that he did, it came to a close on that day at that time.
That's right.
We have that same promise that the same enemy that has been badgering us and that has been trying to destroy us will be destroyed. And we will see that enemy no more.
That's right.
We got to believe that though.
Right.
And we got to follow in the path that Abba Yah has given unto us so that we'll be able to experience that type of victory. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
It is important that we understand that victory is for us. The only reason why we don't get it is because we don't listen. And we have to be listeners. And not just listeners, but we have to apply what he's given unto us so that we can have the victory. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now we go into another portion to where we see, now we're going to see another side to what's taking place now. They done made it over. They've rejoiced over this. And one thing about it, I've learned, you don't want to rejoice and then turn around and get your own self back in that situation because of disobedience.
That's right.
They don't want to do that. And they rejoiced. All right. We're at chapter 14, right?
Yes.
Chapter 15? I'm sorry, chapter 15. Yes, we're at chapter 15. I'm sorry. Chapter 15, and we are at let's just start at verse 1, and let's read 6 verses, please.
Then Moshe and the children of Yisrael sang this song to Yahuwah and spoke, saying, I will sing to Yahuwah, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and my shear, my song, and he has become my Yahusha. He is my power, and I will praise him. My Abba's power, and I will exalt him. Yahuwah is a man of war. Yahuwah is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he has cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths have covered them. They sank to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has become beautiful in power. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has dashed the enemy in pieces. And it is so.
And it is so. Now let's look at something real quick. They're singing, they're praising Abba Yah. And this is once again, a spontaneous song. Because remember, if you go back into Bereshit, when Moshe had them sing those songs, the songs were of judgment. They were not of victory.
Right.
He told them, you're going to sing this song. And they had to sing that song because of their disobedience. But now the song changes because of the victory. Now, one of the things that I want to look at is where she says, Yahuwah is a man of war. Yahuwah is his name. When people read this verse in many of the camps will tend to use that verse right there to basically say that Abba Yah is a continual man of war. Not so. Like we are not continual people of work. Do we work 24/7, 365 days a year? No, we do not. There comes a time that we rest and we cease from these things. And so does Abba Yah. He is not always at war.
Right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Excuse me. And when our mindset does not change from that, we will tend to think that every time something is done, that it's always done from the perspective of war. It's not always done from the perspective of war. If that was the case, then we would be dead.
That's right.
Because we would be judged. And he would fight us because of our disobedience. But that's not so. Once again, we have to be able to put everything in perspective. It was a time for war. And that's why she said he was a man of war. Are you understanding me? Yes. He is a man of passion. He is a man of compassion. That is why when you look at all of the plagues, you see the plagues represent the passion that he has for us as a people. Every plague represented something they had done to us or our ancestors as a people. When the Nile turned to blood, it was representing the children that were tossed in the Nile, their blood. Because all of the babies that had died at the hand of Pharaoh. Are you understanding me? Yes. Each one took down their deity. So you have to understand, he was showing his passion for Yisrael. And so in his showing passion, he was delivering and he was showing war to Mitzrayim.
That's right.
But then now he brings them out. Now this is about comfort and preparing them. He's not always a man of war. People that are always in war don't think of anything but what? Fighting.
That's it.
If that's all he was about, he would never have time to do anything else. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Once again, we cannot box him in. When we box him in, we lose truly his character.
Right.
We can't box him in. Never ever box him in. Because when we do, once again, that's when we find ourselves in a whole lot of trouble. A whole lot of trouble. Now, Yahuwah's name is used twice to show his signature and his true name. His name is not Jesus and not Lord. It is not that. Are you understanding me? Once again, we know these names were brought about by Jerome and Constantine and Eusebius and all of them. We know these things, and these names came about to deter people and keep them from serving the true Savior. This is why, once again, it's an important personal relationship. When you have a personal relationship with somebody, you want to know their what? Name. You want to know somebody's name. You don't go around calling them boy, girl, woman, man, black woman. First of all, we're not black. Some of us may have more melanin than others, but we are not a black people. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
You don't answer to those type of codes. But when you get to know somebody, you get to know them on their what? Based upon their name.
That's right.
The closer the relationship and the more intimate the relationship, the more you begin to reveal yourself. And now you get on what? First name basis.
That's right.
It takes time with people, but you get on first name basis based upon your relationship. Are you understanding me? Because you're getting close. You're getting closer. So now you know one another. You say, yeah, so, yeah. And it's not out of disrespect, but it's about the relationship. When people tend to call him God and Lord, you lack relationship.
That's right.
Are you understanding me? Relationship says his name. They sing songs all day long. His name is God. That is not a name.
Right.
No more than black is a people. Show me on a map where Blackatopia is or where the black nation is.
Right.
And I ain't talking about the ones that's been doctored or doctored up. There is no place. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
We have names. Every place on the map has a name. Why shouldn't we?
Right.
That's right.
It's important we understand that. And so here it is, we see these things. But he is a man, and he has a name. And he is our Abba. And the closer you get to him, the more you understand and the more you reverence him. That doesn't mean we take it and throw it around now.
That's right.
That's right.
Like a charm. You regard it and you respect it with the utmost respect. We don't just take it because he's not a charm. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
But we regard it and we hold it and we protect his name in our heart. And that doesn't mean that now we don't say it.
That's right.
That's the Jewish way. Well, it's so sacred we can't say it. No, just tell the truth. You ain't the real ones, and that's why you don't want to say his name.
That's right.
You don't want to say his name because you know you're not, because you know there is no real connection.
Right. That's right.
The connected people, we know, and therefore we understand to reverence his name and not hide it.
That's right.
And we're not ashamed to say it.
Yes, that's right.
Are you understanding? We're not ashamed. So once again, it's important that we understand that. And I wanted to bring that out once again because we find so many people. Well, he's a man of war, but you better understand he's also an Abba.
That's right.
He knows when to whoop and he knows when to correct and he knows when to caress and he knows when to chastise. If he always chastises, well, we would be a people that would be dead by now.
Yes, that's right.
We would be dead because we wouldn't be able to handle it. You know, you correct your children, you know, but if you corrected them just because you looked at them and said, well, I think you're going to do something wrong, so I'm going to just go ahead and correct you now. You thinking about doing something wrong, so I'm just going to go ahead and whip you now and get it out of the way. We wouldn't have them. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
We correct them because if they've done something wrong, oh, watch this, or they're getting ready to do something wrong, we don't correct them, or we do, but we warn them. You warn them. If you do that, this is going to be the outcome.
That's right.
So I'm telling you now, don't do that. And if whatever happens, it falls on them, you've done your part. But you don't just go in there and start beating on them. No, we don't do that. I hope we don't anyway. All right, let's read. 7, you read to 6, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Let's read 12.
Verse 7. And in the greatness of your excellence you have overthrown those who rose against you. You sent forth your wrath, which consumed them like stone. And with the blast of your nostrils the waters were gathered together. The streams of water stood upright like a heap. The depths froze in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My desire shall be satisfied on them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, Yahuwah among the Elam? Who is like you, great in splendor and set apart, to receive reverence and praises, doing amazing wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them, and it is so.
And it is so. Now that's a song. You see them bars on that song? You know, that's a good long song, but it's a song, but you have to understand. He's worthy of every bar. He's worthy of every phrase. He's worthy. One thing about us, too, we got to get out of that mentality, that microwave mentality. Well, if it's too long, now I'm bored. Oh, if it's too long, oh, man, it's lost my interest. Anything that concerns him and Yahushua and the Ruach Kodesh, anything that concerns our way of life, we should never get bored about it.
Right, that's right.
If we do, that means something is wrong. Are you understanding me? That means there is something that we need to go in and check. You have to understand, this is why we have to renew our mind, renew our lifestyle, according to Romans 12 and 2. And be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may present that what is excellent and right in the sight of Abba Yahweh. See, the world has conditioned us to get everything just like that. If I don't get it like that, then it's done lost my attention. They were standing up there for hours after they had crossed over singing. Wasn't nobody talking about, let's go get our house. Can we please put down some markers? Can we please be given the land that we're supposed to build on? Can we please move from this place? Nobody was doing that. They had their temper. Everybody over there getting in there and boy, they were, whoop, we finally out that place. We ain't in hard bondage no more. We ain't got to make no bricks with no straws no more. We lost nothing. We lost no one. Neither did we lose any of our possessions. And when we look over there, we see Pharaoh and his army dead on the other side of the sea. Right. They over there getting in there. They ain't thinking about, no, let's hurry up and go. If we would stop sometime and just praise him. And just give him thanks for what he's done. Understand, we in truth don't mean that now we got to become sourpusses. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
That we ain't supposed to praise him. That we're not supposed to open our mouth. Let me tell you something. The church may be off, but one thing they do, they'll stop in the middle of the road and jump out their car and praise a Savior that ain't even real.
Right.
And what do? We be sitting up there, no expect me to do that. That's church. That is not church. Are you understanding me? Miriam was the first one to get out there with that tambourine. And I'm sure, boy, they was getting it in. And they was praising him. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
People think that, well, we can't do that because that's the church. No, that's us. The congregation is supposed to praise him. They praised him and they praised him. They gave him praise because he deserves it. It ought to be that when you sometime alone or with people that you start thinking, you're like, how great he is. I appreciate you.
That's right.
You know, you ought to get one. You got to shake your head moment. But what's wrong with you? You don't know. I'm walking in truth. I'm awake. No longer sleep. No longer in the matrix. I've been brought out of the matrix. That's enough to make you shake your head and say, Boy, I sure do told you up, but yeah. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
I know they danced. You ain't gonna sit here and tell me they didn't dance. But we look at that as being off. That's not what we're supposed to do. Why? Because we looked at the church so long, we think what they do, and they are not the ones who created it.
That's right. That's right.
They didn't create this phrase. Here it is, right here. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
The greater works he does, the greater the praise ought to be coming out of us.
Yes.
That's why we praise him. That's why we turn it up and we praise him. Because he's worthy. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
And what did they do? They praised him and they had what? Music. So don't tell me we can't have music.
Right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
He inhabits the praises of his people. Praises calmly for the upright. I mean, it ain't no strange thing for us to stop and praise him.
Yes. That's right. That's
Are
right.
you understanding me?
Yes.
Ain't no strange thing.
Right.
For some of us, now some of us may have to kind of work into that. That's fine, but at least work towards it.
Right.
Work towards it. Hallelujah. Are you understanding me? You're like, what is wrong with you? Tell I'm walking in truth. Oh, what, you just got some money? No, I ain't got nothing to do with money. What happened? Honey, you don't understand. I'm finally in this place that I've been seeking all my life.
Right.
And that's to know the answers that I've been asking.
That's right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Y'all know the majority of us in here, or no, all of us in here, not the majority, all of us in here were seeking something. And we were trying to figure out, because we knew the way and the path we were in was wrong.
Yes.
We just couldn't put our finger on it until truth came in. We were like, I just can't put my finger on it, but that right there ain't right. And now we're walking in truth. Don't rob him of his praise.
That's right. That's right.
Don't rob him of his praise. Because when you rob him of his praise, guess what we become? We become thief and robbers. Yes, we do. Because we don't give to him what he deserves. All praises belong to him. That's right. All praises. At all times.
Right.
And at any given time, he's supposed to be praised.
That's right.
Once again, we got to understand it don't matter what other people say or think. We know who we are and we know what we stand for, and we are supposed to praise him.
That's right.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, there is none like him. There is none like him. And we appreciate him for his mercy. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let us read.
You in your mercy have led forth the people whom you have redeemed. You have guided them in your strength to your set apart habitation. The people will hear and be afraid. Sorrow will take hold of the inhabitants of Plushim. Then the chiefs of Edom will be dismayed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, will take hold of them. All the inhabitants of Canaan will melt away. Fear and dread will fall on them. By the greatness of your arm, they will be as still as stone. Till your people pass over, O Yahuwah, till the people pass over, whom you have purchased. You will bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance. In the place, O Yahuwah, which you have made for your own dwelling, the set apart place, O Adam, Yah, which your hands have established. Yahuwah shall reign forever and ever. And it is so.
And it is so.
Now let's look at this again. Let's look at these verses. Then the chiefs of Edom will be dismayed. The mighty men of Moab trembling will take hold of them. All the inhabitants of Canaan will melt away. Now look, they're calling out, but they're calling out the people that they have warred with. Are you understanding me? Yes. Because remember, Mitzrayim was that place of bondage, but they were warring with these groups for a very long time. Now let's look at what, read the footnotes, because I like to bring them out when it is feasible. All right, now let's look at this. This is future prophecy when Edom, that is not only Jordan, but all of the Arabians and the Muslim empire will be struck by Yahuwah, and they will be really afraid of Yahuwah. Now, it didn't say nothing about no Europeans, did it? Because the Europeans are not the Edomites.
That's right.
That's the problem, where we got to focus on who is the real problem and who is the real enemy. You have to understand in Vayikra chapter 27, I believe it is, chapter 26 to 27, it tells us that we're in the land of our enemies.
Right.
Our enemies. The land of captivity. You have to understand the difference between being a captive and being in a place of your enemy. If we were in the land of captivity like they were in Mitzrayim, you couldn't go nowhere.
Right.
Your whole task every day, every breath you take would be to wake up and go to work, go to sleep, get up again, and go to work. You would not have a life. You would have so many restrictions on you that it would not be real. Now, we're going to compare. We are in the land of our enemy, but we are not in the land of captivity. You can go from one state to the next state and not be haggled.
Right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
We do not have ankle bracelets on that tell where we are and where we've come from. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
You can go to the store, but basically they're shutting them down, but not all of them. 24 hours and nobody come and tell you, go back home, because there's a curfew. This is the land of our enemies, not the land of not Babylon. I know people may act like we're in Babylon, but this is not Babylon. Babylon is truly a geographical place.
That's right.
It is a geographical place. And if I had a map, I would love to be, or a hobbit to show you on the map where it is. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Once again, if you, it's just like when you are following directions. If you take the wrong path down the wrong way because you think you're leaving one place to go to another place, and if you're taking the wrong directions and you go to the wrong place, then you out of order. Because then you don't know what's going to happen next. Once again, this is the land of our enemies. This is why when you go to purchase and buy stuff, it makes it very hard. But watch this. Most of the time, we walk away with it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
You are not in a place to where you cannot purchase or have what you want. Because if you want it bad enough and you continue to do it, you're going to get it.
That's right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Once again, you got to understand captivity means you have no jurisdiction. You have no say of what you do. You have to eat the same thing they tell you to eat. You can go now to whatever you eat except for seafood and pork. You could go to restaurants that serve the biggest, juiciest steaks. You can fix them at home. You could go buy it off the shelf. You can put it on the grill. You can eat whatever you want according to the Torah law.
Right.
Not outside of that. And nobody come in and say, why are you eating that? That's not food for you. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So once again, you have to understand the difference between being in a place where it's your enemies versus where it is captivity. You got it for me? Read it for me. Okay.
Vayikra chapter 26, verse 43 and 44.
All right, read that for me.
Coming from the NIV scriptures. For the land will be deserted by them and will enjoy its Sabbaths while it lies desolate without them. They will pay for their sins because they rejected my Torah and abhorred my decrees. Yet in spite of this, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them or abhor them so as to destroy them completely, breaking my covenant with them. I am Yahuwah, their power. And it is so.
And it is so. And he will not destroy us completely. We've seen deaths and we've seen stuff happen, but we still standing. Are you understanding me?
Yeah.
This is the land of our enemy. And so it's important that we understand where we are. So when things really start shifting, we know what to do. Are you understanding me? Because it's just like if you were on a road and you had a destination, and that place where you're going is a place of safety. But where you're leaving from, if you don't know where you're leaving from, then it makes it hard to navigate to the place of safety.
That's right. That's right.
That's why we have to know where we are, so when things start turning and changing, we know which way we're supposed to go and how we're supposed to get there.
Right.
It is important to understand that. Once again, this is why we have to go back and study again. I'm a firm believer. Study it, go back again and get it again. Go back again and pray and pray and pray. Okay, Abiyah, is this it? Or is this the path that I'm on to get me to where I need to go?
Sorry.
Because we have to have that understanding. If we don't have that understanding, once again, we will find ourselves being reckless. And so once again, he's shown us this is the land of our enemy. Like I said, you can drive what you want. You can actually live wherever you want to live. You can even live in a European community, but I wouldn't advise it.
Right.
You could buy a house there, but they're going to bother you until you finally get up out of there. We knew some couples that wanted to live in this so-called upscale community with nothing but Europeans in there, and every day they came home, there was something going on with their house. They would take their babies' diapers and they would take it and paint them people's house with it. They would come home, trash strolled all in their front yard, backyard. They would throw stuff. They would just be horrible to them. But guess what? They got what they wanted. Nobody restricted them from living in that all-European community. But they paid for it. Now, if you were a captive, you couldn't even think about that. They'd hit you in the head. You want to go where? Get that thought out your mind. What's wrong with you? Once again, it's important that we understand these things. I would never want to live there. Because the moment you put that baby's boo-boo on my house, we're going to be sweeping yours up. We're going to be putting yours in the trash can because there's going to be nothing but rubble right there. We're going to be using yours for fertilizer. No, I ain't nowhere in the world. Why would you want to put yourself in there and then you come home and all they stinky trash is in your front backyard and they didn't went and did all, when I say horrible things to them people, they did horrible things, but they wanted to stay there. Ain't nothing, there was nothing in the communities for me. Are you hearing me? And I'm not talking about, now understand me, we ain't talking about no little house. We talking about $250,000 and $300,000 homes, y'all. And you gonna put that up on my house? They'd have been sweeping yours up. We'd have been roasting marshmallows. No, you won't play that. No. So understand, once again, this is why we have to know where we are. Are you hearing me? But these are the enemies. Once again, nothing about European people, because they're not the Edomites.
That's right.
They're not the Edomites. Contrary to popular belief, they are not. All right. Let's read. Six verses. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, please.
For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and his horsemen into the sea, and Yahuwah brought back waters of the sea upon them. But the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea. Then Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took timbrel, statutes, and I put none of the diseases on you which I had brought on Mizraim. Right, in her hand. Right. And all the women went out after her with the timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, saying to Yahuwah, for he is triumphantly glorious. The horse and its ride was thrown into the sea. Then Moshe brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness, and they found no manna or water. And when they came into Marah, they could not drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter, therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people complained against Moshe and said, what shall we drink? And he cried out to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah showed him a tree, which when he came out into the waters were made sweet. And then he made the statute and the ordinance for them, and then he tested them. And he said, if you would diligently heed to the voice of Yahuwah, your Elohim, and you would do what is right in his sight, and he would give ear to his commandments and keep all of his statutes. Okay. And I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought to Mizraim, for I am Yahuwah who heals you.
Now let's look at this again. Now she is leading the way for them to dance and to praise him. Once again, because of the victory that they have just won, you have to understand that was a major victory to be in that place. Now, mind you, when all this happened, they were young adults. They were young adults. When Moshe went back, Moshe was 80. Haran was 83. That's a long time to be dealing with stuff. You know, things you gotta leave because Moshe was younger, and so they were killing the children. And he ended up being esteemed by Abiyah and placed into the palace. Then he does, and what a lot of historians don't reveal, according to that, the reason why he killed the man he did was because he was getting ready to try to violate an Ibram woman. And that's why he killed him, because what he was getting ready to do. So once again, he leaves, and now they're in bondage for a very long time. Now you free. You ain't in that? You know, I like movies. And what was that one, the Avengers, when Iron Man, that suit had made itself, what was the thing called? Ultron. And Ultron stood in the room with all of them. My favorite part is when he said, ain't no strings on me. He said, ain't no strings on me. That was my favorite part. When I saw that commercial, I jumped up. I said, that's my saying. No strings on me. When there are no strings on you, people can't use you like a puppet.
That's right.
Are you understanding me? Now understand, we know who is in our lives, and we know who we yield to and who we listen to, and that's Abiyah. But when there are no people that's controlling you and making you go here, making you go there, and I'm talking about outside and cause you to do all kind of crazy stuff.
Right.
Are you hear me?
Yes.
Then you can say, I'm free.
That's right.
I'm free. I'm not under all that stuff. There are no strings on me. I'm not under all that kind of crazy bondage. Use this for example. If you were ever a person that really, really cared about what people said. Now, I believe we should care. Now, understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
To a degree, you should be concerned about what people say because you want to be a good representative of truth or a great representative of truth.
Yes.
You ought to be concerned. But I'm talking about when you got people that think that that think just because you are striving to live in truth that now they can just manipulate you and have you go here, there, everywhere, and just do all kind of crazy things.
Right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
That's a no-no.
That's right.
And you have to understand when they were in bondage, their lives were just that, where they experienced freedom, and then all of a sudden your rights are taken away from you. You can't go outside of the city. You got to stay where you are, and then when you come to work, you working and you're not getting paid. Oh, you understand me? Working you so hard, by the time you get home, the only thing you can do is lay your head down on that pillow and go to sleep and get prepared for the next day. That's bondage.
That's right.
And that's all they have to look forward to. Then you come to a place in your life, and now if there are any boys born, now you with child, and you still got to work, and then you have to be concerned that whatever life is on the inside of you, that if it's a boy, there's a possibility that he could die. That's mental bondage. That's mental bondage and torment. So now here it is. You have to wait. Now you can imagine some of them that had come through were probably grandmamas and great-great-grandmamas that had experienced that. And now you're not under that no more. They weren't sitting up there, thank you, shh, thank you, shh. Now them sisters was dancing and probably had everybody else going to get it in because they realize we're experiencing true freedom. But one thing about freedom, if it ain't in here, it sure ain't gonna be up in here.
Right.
Because you can take a person out of a situation, but if you don't take the situation out of a person, they'll forfeit what Abba Yah has given them.
That's right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Now remember what they said. We're gonna look at this real quick and we're gonna move on. Now look what it says. What he says in here in So Yahuwah saved Yisrael that day out of the hand of the Mitzrayim, and Yisrael saw the Mitzrayim dead on the seashore. Now you have to understand, he saved us and gave us life. He saved us. And one of the things that's important for us to understand is that he didn't save us for us to die and go to hell. He didn't bring us out for us to die and go to hell.
That's right.
Are you understanding me?
That's right.
Not only does physical salvation, we have to understand that also when you are saved physically, it also leads to eternal salvation, being shown forth by their fruits. Now understand, problems occur with men, not Yahuwah. The problem didn't occur with Yahuwah, it occurred with man. He not only saved them physically, but his intentions were to save them also in their Ruach. Are you understanding? He brought us out for us not to go off and continue in a life of sin, but he brought us out so that he could truly bring us to a place of salvation in our Ruach. Because as long as you're in bondage, you don't know nothing about no salvation of your Ruach because you ain't thinking about that. Only thing you're thinking about is what? Survival. Survival. And you have to understand, you looking and trying to stay fit because you're looking at survival of the fittest. But here it is, it wasn't the survival of the fittest. It is about survival of those that hold and bind his instructions to the mind because it's already in the heart.
That's right.
So once again, he didn't bring us out for us to die. But if you follow in that path, that's what will happen. And that's what we're going to see. Once again, he's faithful that promise. We don't have to worry about him reneging on what he said unto us. It's us that have to maintain our consistency and our commitment to him. He ain't going to do that because if that's the case, he'd have left us in the matrix.
That's right. That's right.
We had already been sinning. I'm talking about from the time we understood, to go this way, we were going that way. Some of us not realizing, many of us didn't know we were going wrong. But at some point in our lives, if we really go back and look again real hard, you will find out that there was something that was in your life at one point was alluded to truth, but we rejected it. He left me breadcrumbs, and he was bringing it to me as a young girl, but fear. I don't know anything about this. Why am I accept this and all I know is Christianity? So for years, rejected it, and he would drop a breadcrumb for me, and drop a breadcrumb for me. And I pick it up and be like, no. And look at everybody else, you start thinking, I don't see no breadcrumbs on that path, and ain't nobody eating this bread. I'm like, I want to make sure I eat this bread, I'm going to live and not die. And I rejected, but every one of us has had an opportunity before now to hear truth.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
So nobody has an excuse. Nobody.
Right.
Because all of us have had that encounter. If he didn't harbor us, we would still be in the matrix.
That's right.
And if he wanted us just to die, he would let us die when opportunity permitted itself. Because I'm sure some of us in here could testify that we almost died.
Yes, that's right.
That we almost died. A lot of crazy stuff we've done. It needs a charger. A lot of crazy stuff we've done that we should have died. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
But his mercy said no, and he allowed us to live. All right, now, let us finish reading. Excuse me. Now, here it is. They cry out because there is no what? Water. Now, did we not just see him bring them across the sea of reeds, drown the enemy? And now they are sweating over something as minute as having water. Once again, that's why it has to be in your heart. If it's not in your heart, it will not come to the mind. It's almost like an IV. Anybody has ever had IV before? If you've ever had to go to the hospital or you've ever seen anybody that had to get IV, or you yourself. I had to get it every time I was getting ready to have one of my children. But one thing about IV, you have that big old bag, and then it drops. Whatever it is in there, whether it's the medication, it drops and it goes through a tube and it gets into your blood vessel. Look at the bag as being your heart. Look at the bag as being your heart. And for every situation we encounter, our heart ought to release something to our mind that says it's a go.
That's right.
When you bound the truth to your mind, what happens is your heart says, yes, we can go with this. Yes, we can go ahead on and move forward with this. Yes, we can put everything into this because this is valid. This is real. This is worth trusting. When it is not, guess what happens? They have a little clamp that's on that IV tube. When it's enough and when it shouldn't pass, they twist it and it clamps it off. So that what's coming out of the big bag is impeded from coming through.
Right. That's right.
So you can't get anything else. If it's medication, if it's sugar water, whatever it is, it stops the flow. And this is what happens when we don't bind it to the mind. It gets to that point and guess what? It cuts it off. So now there's a struggle there. Because I'm trying to feel like, okay, you brought us here. We have no water. So what are we supposed to do? Once again, you got to look at, if he did it the first time, what would stop him from doing it the second time?
Right.
It's our belief and our relationship with him. If I believe that he did it the first time, why would I not believe that he will bring me through regardless of what situation it is, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, etc., time? This is important for us to understand and remember. Don't ever, ever underestimate the power of Yahuwah.
That's right.
Never. Or the power of his son Yahusha. Never underestimate anything about him, because when we do, we'll find ourselves in a whole lot of trouble. Are you hearing me? Yes. It's important that we do not. But they began to complain. Now, once again, I made reference to this earlier about us being tried. This is where we get to this point here, because we are getting so close. I know Peshat is already over for them in the writings because they moved on. But this is what we need to look at, because we're so close that the enemy does everything within his power to make us recant, and relent what we've said and what we've done concerning walking in truth. Mm-hmm. Because we get so pressurized. It's always something. If it ain't this, it's that. If it's not that, it's this. If it's not this, that, the other. If it ain't snowing, it's raining. If it ain't raining, it's hot as crap. Are you understanding? Yeah. It's almost like it ain't just one day where that weather is just perfect. And you can just sit there and say, oh man, this is just great. It's always something. Mm-hmm. Always something trying to push our button and make us get just rattled to the point that we do something crazy. Now, the Bible tells us, or the writings tell us, be angry, but what? Sin not. So I can be angry, but I ain't supposed to sin. And if you understand what sin is, then you understand don't sin. But once again, everything the enemy does is to try to make us forfeit, or to get us in a guilt trip that if you do something now, you feel like I'm not worthy. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, because that's what he does. Now here it is, they're in this place once again, and they're doubting, even after seeing what Abba Yah is capable of doing. We don't want that to be said of us.
Yes, that's right.
I don't want that to be said of me. I don't want to get this far and then be like, oh my goodness, we got this, that, and the other. This is pressing me. That's pressing me. What I'm going to do is stand still and see his salvation.
That's right.
And know he's going to bring me out. He's not going to let us look silly.
That's right.
He'll never do that. But we have to believe that he's never going to let us look silly. If we don't, then we'll tend to do things on our own, and we'll start creating ways. And that, once again, can be very dangerous, especially if he hasn't given us that idea. Are you understanding? Yes. That can be dangerous, because then we start trying to do things in our own strength, in our own way, which causes us to truly sometimes still don't get to the end and still never come to the conclusion of that matter, because we're just pushing and we're fighting. We're giving it everything we got. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
To where now we're working so hard that now we still are right where we started from. I know from experience. Are you hearing me? Gotta walk in truth. And you gotta see that he's able to do what we can't see being done. He knows how to create situations in our esteem instead of against us. So we gotta walk in that and know that it is so. All right, let's read verse 26 and 27. No, we already read that. I'm sorry. We already read that. Now we read 27 and we go into chapter 16. Now once again, he said, I will put none of these diseases on you, which I have brought on the Mitzrayim. For I am Yahuwah who heals you. He is a healer. And I believe that with all my heart. I do. All my heart. He is a healer. If you want to be saved from the diseases that the Mitzrayim had to experience, then you must be Torah obedient. We cannot walk limping in Torah with one foot in the world and one in the church, refusing to obey Torah. Our assembly's first motto must be obedience to Yahuwah and his voice, which is declared in the Torah of Moshe. Once again, that's important. Because if not, we will continually go right back around that mountain again. And we don't want to come past that mountain. We don't want to keep doing that. We don't want to repeat our forefathers and ancestors' same mistakes. So we've got to straighten up and fly right. And it is so. All right, chapter 15, chapter 15, verse 27, chapter 16, let's read 5 verses with 27, we'll make 6 verses.
Verse 27. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of Mayim, and 70 palm etzim, so they camped there by the Mayim. Chapter 16, verse 1. And they journeyed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Yisrael came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinayah, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after they departed from the land of Mitzrayim. Then the whole congregation of the children of Yisrael complained against Moshe and Haran in the wilderness. And the children of Yisrael said to them, "Oh, that we had died by the hand of Yahuwah in the land of Mitzrayim, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate lechem to the full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Then Yahuwah said to Moshe, "Behold, I will rain lechem from Shemayim for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my Torah or not." Verse 5. And it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And it is so.
And it is so. Now look what he shows them. When, you have to know when Abba Yah does something, he does it in a great way. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of Mayim, and 70 palm etzim. So they camped there by the Mayim, almost like paradise.
That's right.
Palm trees, if you know, when you look in Florida and you see the palm trees, it doesn't matter where you see palm trees. It just puts you in that mind, boy, this is just paradise. It's just gorgeous. Because there's something about a beautiful palm tree. They have all this. Now they greedy. You done brought us out here to die for starvation. Did you not just have water in your mouth? And now they're complaining about eating. You have to understand, evil communication does what? Corrupts good manners. Everybody that came out of Mitzrayim was not Ibram. Are you understanding me? Yes. So you had a mixture of people, and people that don't understand will have you all messed up and have you breaking Torah if you listen to them. They complained the whole time. They just had to complain. And listen what happened. And they journeyed from Elim, and all the congregation, not the church, the congregation of the children of Yisrael, came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinayah, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after they departed from the land of Mitzrayim. Now, when we look at this, then it says, then the whole congregation of the children of Yisrael complained against Moshe and Haran in the wilderness. Once again, when it is in a person's heart never to be satisfied and content, I don't care what you do, they will never find contentment in anything.
That's right.
You have 70 palms and 12 wells when you didn't have no water.
Right.
But now, no matter what it's still, you can't see nothing great in this. It's still, well, we ain't got no food now. You mama probably still wet from the water and complaining about food. This is why we cannot afford, once again, and I know sometimes we say, no, I would never do that. But if we look closely into our lives, if we're not careful, sometimes you get that point, well, man, why do I have to go through this again? Man, why can't I just come out right here? Why is it like this? Even though it may be not the same as that, but if it's still complaining, complaining is complaining.
That's right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Complaining is complaining. And if you complain about one thing, you'll find some complaining about another thing. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
It starts like a snowball effect. I know there are certain things that I like, and I like things a certain way, and I'll be like, okay, y'all, we got to get this, we got to do that, we got to get this, and we got to do that. And sometimes I get to a point where I get frustrated because I'm like, this has to be done this way. And one thing about it, if you're not careful, it'll keep going. That's why I constantly remember Yahusha, the son of Nun, 1:8. I will not let this book of the Torah depart out of my mouth. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
But meditate upon it, that I may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then I will make my way prosperous and do what? Act wisely. It's about acting wisely. And there are times that you will be put in positions to where you are provoked to not act wisely.
That's right.
But we can't give in to that. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
We can't give in to that. And this is what they did. They did not act wisely. Because they saw everything Abba Yah was doing, but yet they could not be grateful for what it was that he was doing. Yahuwah identifies the mountain by his set-apart name. It is pronounced Sanya and not Sinai, equivalent to the mountain of Moriah, where Abraham was told to go to sacrifice Isaac, and not the other mountain. And so it's important that we understand everything that Abba Yah does, and as he's revealing himself to his people. All right, now let's read.
Then Moshe and Aharon said to all the children of Yasharal, at evening you shall know that Yahuwah has brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And in the morning you shall see the esteem of Yahuwah, for he hears your complaints against Yahuwah. And what are we that you complain against us? And Moshe said, this shall be seen when Yahuwah gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning lakim to the full. For Yahuwah hears your complaints, which you make against him. And what are we? Your complaints are not against us, but against Yahuwah. And Moshe spoke to Aharon, say to all the congregation of the children of Yasharal, come near before Yahuwah, for he has heard your complaints. Now it came to pass, as Aharon spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Yasharal, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the esteem of Yahuwah appeared in the cloud. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, I have heard the complaints of the children of Yasharal. Speak to them, saying, at twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with lakim. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah, your power. And it is so.
And it is so. Now you have to understand, when he starts speaking in that manner, that's where you start saying, okay, no, something's not right. See, because you have to understand, he was letting them know, okay, I hear you complaining against me. That's why we have to be careful what we say, because everything we say, he hears it. There's nothing that he does not hear. And that's why we have to be ever so careful of what we say, especially, and I believe with all my heart that we know better than to speak against him.
Yes, that's right.
We know better than to speak against them. But even then, you have to be careful even when you speak against other people that are believers. Because, see, they're still the children. We're still the children of power. And if we speak against them, then we're still speaking against him. Are you understanding? Yes. It's important that we be careful of how we say certain things, because we don't want to offend in any kind of way. And so we're seeing here, once again, they are persistent in their disobedience and in their lack of belief because of a lack of relationship. He would never put us in a position to where we would end up dying out and not having. Right. Never, ever, ever. Are you understanding me? Yes. And we can speak from experience. I know I can. When you're without a car and you have a family like we do, that can be really testing and trying. And you go and you do things, and you can't always get people to come and help you. And some things you have to do, but I appreciate Abba Yah for Akuzir, who has helped us and, help transport and do things, for us, and so forth. But when you're in a position and you don't have that, you still got to maintain. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
But I was determined not to get back on that bus. I'm sorry. I made up my mind, no more buses, I would walk. But I didn't get back on no bus.
That's right.
That was my determination. And we walked and we did. But one thing I made sure is that I never spoke against Abba Yah.
Right.
Because it wasn't his fault.
Yes,
That's
right.
due to human error.
Right.
Understanding human error. And when you understand human error, this is when you begin to understand, I can't blame you, Abba Yah. This is something that happened in our hands. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
And so we did what we had to do, and then Abba Yah gave us the wisdom to do what we had to do, to build back up, and to get what we needed so that we can do what we have to do. And now we're able to do that. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Whenever we understand where the blame goes, just accept it. I made a mistake and move on.
Yes, that's right.
But don't, well, Abba Yah, why didn't you stop it? Well, why didn't you do this? Well, why didn't you warn me before it happened? Now you blaming him.
Right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
That's not what we're supposed to do. Even though a lot of times, and we don't maybe not even consider or not even think about it, there are times that we will say those things without thought. If you would have just warned me, if you just tapped me on the shoulder, if you'd have just said, hey, don't go there, don't do that. And then you have to remember, well, you know, I told you, acknowledge me in all my ways, and I'll direct your path.
That's right.
Are we understand? So we have to understand, accept it. If it's something we did, we just accept that was my human error. I made that choice, and that's what happened. Now, once again, here it is. They're in this position, and they constantly are talking bad about Abba Yah. And he said, okay, I'm going to give them just what they want, since they said they had meat in pots, and they said, and they just ate to the full. You start looking and saying, but you know, remember, y'all wasn't eating like that not long ago. Remember, you wasn't eating like that long ago. Why? Because you were in bondage.
That's right.
You didn't have time to eat like that, so you wasn't eating as good as you want to throw up in Abba Yah's face. So once again, you have to be careful, because sometimes we have a tendency to forget what we were going through before we came out. So we have to be mindful of that. Now listen what he says. He says, I'm going to give it to you, but watch what's going to happen to you. All right, let's read.
Verse 13,
Mhm.
6 verses.
Yes.
Verse 13, and it reads, So it was that quails came up at evening and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And when the layer of dew lifted, there, on the surface of the wilderness, was a small round thing, as fine as frost on the ground. And when the children of Yisrael saw it, they said to one another, This is manna. For they were not sure what it was. And Moshe said to them, This is the lekim which Yahuwah has given you to eat. This is the thing which Yahuwah has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need, 1 omer for each person, according to the number of persons. Let every man take for those who are in his tent. And the children of Yisrael did so, and gathered, some more and some less. So when they measured it by omers, he who gathered much had nothing over, and he who had gathered little had no lack. And every man had gathered according to each one's need. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, manna was like coriander seed and sweet like frosted flakes. So it's kind of like they had like frosted flakes. They were eating that. And anybody know what frosted flakes taste like? They are good. I think that is the greatest cereal when it comes down to flakes. And what's the other one? Circle K. Not this is okay. No. What's the other? Special K. Thank you, Special K. Circle K's gas station. Special K. All right. The omer, 1 omer, 2 quarts approximate, about 2 liters. So everybody had enough to eat. Once again, remember when they were getting ready to come out of Mitzrayim and they had to grab the lamb, they had to do it according to what? The size of their home. That meant you didn't go and grab more and you didn't grab less. You had to do it according to the size. He's teaching them what? Discipline.
That's right.
He teaches us discipline in every area if we would acknowledge that.
Yes.
Now look, he tells them, he said, now, nobody suffered lack. For those that didn't need that much, you gathered in little. For those that needed much, you gathered in more. It said in verse 17, and the children of Yisrael did so and gathered some more, some less. You do it according to your size. Well, let me show you some. Society says this. If you are, and I mean, I put it in this way because this is what society has taught. Mm-hmm. You have a family. You have the Isha or the Ish and the Isha. they have one child. Society has said, but we need 5,000 square feet of room in a house. So now you basically got to go above what is really realistic. Why? Because you have to have the entertainment room. You have to have a giant master bedroom. And it's crazy because who was it was talking about? It was Dr. Africa was saying, what is a master bedroom? What is a master bedroom? Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Those are slave terms. Master bedroom?
Yeah.
Right.
Master bedroom. Why can't it just be, well, we're going to have the largest room?
Yeah.
But the master bedroom, once again, all these things have meanings behind them. Then your child has a oversized room, and then you have all these other amenities in the house. But this is what society says if you want to get it. And then people reach above what they're able to maintain, and they can't do it. Why? But because society says, get what you want, not what you need.
That's right.
Get what you want, not what you need. Are you understanding me? So what does society do? The society says, well, we're going to make this because we know most of the time people are going to get it.
That's right.
Are you following what I'm saying? So now people become greedy and start grabbing for more because I want to be like the Joneses. I want to do what they are doing. When Yahuwah gave us a plan that shows us how to use discipline and get what we need.
That's right.
Does that mean we can't have what we want? Absolutely not. But using wisdom, even in what you want.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right.
We knew a pastor in Christianity who had a 17-bedroom house, and there was nobody but him and his wife, and wouldn't let nobody live with him. That's selfish. He sure wouldn't. And then he said he was going to get a bigger house. He said he going to get a bigger one because he could. You and all that room, and you wouldn't let nobody live in his house. And he bragged about it. That's what society says is okay. Yahuwah said, get what you need according to your family.
That's right.
That's right.
Are you understanding? That's what
Yes.
we do. That's not saying you can't have anything nice.
That's right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
But
That's right.
this is what has taken place. Now what he says, so when they measured it by omers, he who gathered much had nothing over, and he who gathered little had no lack. Every man had gathered according to each one's need. Now mind you, remember when they came out of Mitzrayim, they were not what? Broke.
Right.
Remember, they borrowed all the silver, all the gold, all the fine clothing. So it is not like they were broke and didn't have. But discipline was the key, and still is the key.
That's right.
Yes. That's right.
That's according to need. All right. And he said, and Moshe said, let no one leave any of it till morning. Because now that's being wasteful. Now let's read. Let's read.
Next story in verse 18.
What did we read to? I read 18. Okay, I went past it. All right, go ahead.
So when they measured it by omers, he who gathered much had nothing over, and he who had little had no lack. Every man had gathered according to each one's need. And Moshe said, let no one leave any of it till morning. Notwithstanding, they did not listen to Moshe, but some of them left part of it until morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moshe was angry with them. So they gathered it every morning, every man according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted. And it was so on the sixth day. They gathered twice as much lechem, 2 omers for each one, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe. And he said to them, this is what Yahuwah has said. Tomorrow is a Sabbath rest, a set-apart Sabbath to Yahuwah. Bake what you will bake today, and boil what you will boil, and lay it up for yourselves all that remains to be kept until morning. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, everything they had to do was for the 6th day. Now, once again, being greedy and being foolish, it's set up and it's stamped. If you've ever smelled bread, when it goes bad, it has a really, really foul smell. Now, imagine where they were with all those people and that type of smell. You know, you'd be passing through the landfills, and you go through there and you'd be like, what is that horrible smell? Close the vents. When we coming home, we'd be like, okay, we're about to hit that place, close the vents, do whatever. Because it is a horrific smell, because they're taking trash and they're burying it in the earth. But that smell still comes through. It still comes through. I wonder why they don't just burn.
No, evolution.
Evolution? Well, that's still air pollution. That's stink pollution. dig a big old burn pit and just burn it. I mean, really, because isn't that still considered air pollution because of the smell? Yeah. All right. Now on the sixth day, which we know when we prepare for Sabbath, that we overcook on the sixth day. So on the seventh day, we don't cook and we don't do any of that. Now listen what is being said here. And he said to them, this is what Yahuwah had said. Tomorrow is a Sabbath rest. Set apart Sabbath to Yahuwah. Bake what you will bake today. So they were cooking and doing everything they were doing on the sixth day.
That's right.
Now listen what it says. And boil what you will boil, and lay up for yourselves all that remain to be kept until when? In the morning, when what? The Sabbath begins. You see where it says? This is showing us the Sabbath begins on the Sabbath morning. Preparation is day 6.
That's right.
Yes.
It's day 6. And this is where a lot of people, sometimes I know a lot of people may not like what I'm going to say, but it's the right, it's the truth. You have to understand, the 6th day is the 6th day. Day and night are married as one. I'll show you the analogy. When you look at your finger, there are not 2 layers of skin. Now, everybody has a finger. Look at your finger. You have the bottom part, which is, I won't say white, but it is lighter than the darker part of your hand, right?
Yes.
But it is still what? One finger.
Yes.
You don't have an extra layer of skin. It is one finger with 2 types or 2 shades of color. Day and night, one day. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So the 6th day constitutes as one day. In other words, that whole day is to be spent making preparations, not from in the morning till 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening.
That's right.
Are you understanding me? Once again, this was something that was introduced during the time of Babylon, the Babylonian period. The Romans used to handle or cause them to have their Sabbath during that time. Our Sabbath begins on the day of the Sabbath rest. You take it from the Sabbath day all the way to the first day when day breaks. When day breaks, that's when the Sabbath is up, because it's what? One whole day.
That's right.
Are you understanding me? Day does not begin at night.
Right.
It begins in the daytime.
That's right.
And he said, later for yourselves so to be kept until when? The morning. So that's how we come to it. Are we understanding?
Yes.
All right. You don't do any fire. We don't do anything. We make sure we stay straight. All right. Now let's read.
Verse 24.
Mm-hmm.
So they laid it out till morning, as Moshe commanded, and it did not stink, nor were there any worms in it.
Mm-hmm.
Then Moshe said, eat that today, for today is the Sabbath to Yahuwah. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, there will be none. Now it happened that some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather it, but they found none. Now it happened that some of the people, verse 28, and Yahuwah said to Moshe, how long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my Torah? See, for Yahuwah has given you the Sabbath. Therefore he gives you on the 6th day lechem for 2 days. Let every man remain in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. And the people rested on the 7th day. And it is so.
And it is so. Now look what they did. On the Sabbath, they went out looking for food. Hard-headed. Hard-headed and disobedient. And greedy. Exactly. And greedy. Right. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, there will be none. He had none. And it goes on to show you just how human nature. Now mind you, and I always try to remind us, that same blood that ran in them runs in us.
That's right.
We have a choice to walk in obedience or be disobedient.
That's right.
We have to walk in obedience. He said, how long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my Torah? Instructions. His instructions. Once again, it is important that we understand we cannot be disobedient.
That's
All right, let's continue reading, please.
And the bed of Jethro called his name Manna. And it was like white coriander seed, white in the taste, it was like wafers made with honey. Moshe said, "This is the thing which Yahuwah has commands. Fill an omer with it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the Kim with which I fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you out of the land of Mizraim." And Moshe said, "Aaron, take a pot and put an omer in manna in it, and lay it up for Yahuwah to be kept for your generations." And Yahuwah commanded Moshe, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. The children of Yisrael ate manna 40 years, until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is 1/10 of an
Ephah.
ephah. And is so.
And it's so. Wow. All right. Once again, we see what took place. It's important we learn from their mistakes. All right. Chapter 17 and verse 16 is our last verse for these portions, and then we're going to go into our Haftorah portions. Chapter 17, we're just going to read verse 16, and then we're going to go into our Haftorah portions.
Who he said, because Yahuwah has sworn, Yahuwah will have war with Amalek, right? For generations to generations.
So, all right. Now let's go to Shoftim, which is Judges chapter 4. 4:55. Now this is the picture of the anti-Mashiach who will be a Muslim, and his people, all of radical Islam, join with him. Yahuwah said he will destroy them by his hands. So once again, he said, I will have war with them. Now understand, he said, well, he's going to have war with them consistently. But we do not determine, are you understanding me?
Yes.
Who Abba Yah will war with. He's already said in the writings, in the scrolls, who he's going to have war with. Are you understanding me? We can't, because he's not no bulldog. You don't sick him on anybody.
That's right.
All right. The page number in that is 455. If you go to 455, it'll take you right to Shoftim, chapter 4, and it'll put us at verse 4. Yeah. Chapter 4 of Shoftim, which is Judges, and we're going to start at verse 4.
How many of these you want to
We're going to do 6 again.
Okay.
Let's read 6 again.
And Debalia, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidot, she judged Yasrael at that time. And she dwelt under the palmettes of Debalia, between Ramah and Bethel, in Mount Ephraim. And the children of Yasrael came up to her for right Reuben. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinadab, out of Kadesh, Naphtali, and said to him, Has not Yahuwah, power of Yasrael, commanded, saying, Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with you 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and the children of Zebulun, and I will draw you out to the river Kishon Sisera, the commander of Yabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver them into your hand. And Barak said to her, If you will go with me, then I will go out. But if you will not go with me, then I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with you, notwithstanding the journey that you take shall not be for your esteem. And Yahuwah shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah rose and went with Barak to Kadesh, and it is so.
And it is so. Now, it's amazing that here it is. She is a judge, and they had to come to her for advice and to be instructed. Contrary to what people want to say, well, she was not a leader. How can you judge people and tell people to do? You ain't a leader. Now, you have to understand that, you know, a lot of times people want to separate that. That's just like trying to separate, you know, wet from water, sweet from sugar. You can't do it. You can't do it. Are you understanding me? There is no way you can do that. But the problem comes in, once again, is when the sages got involved, when Jewish sages got involved and began to say, well, we just going to make sure that the woman pays for everything. We're going to make her pay, you know, forever because of what Chava had done in the garden. Once again, you have to understand the reason why there's been a major attack and continues to be a major attack is because of those, number one, because of Judaism. And where did Judaism come from? It came from the Jews. It came from the Jewish rabbis. That didn't come from the heart of Abba Yah. Neither did it come from Yahusha. So once again, it's important that we understand where these things come from. Her name was Deborah. And so here it is. We're going to look at her, what her name means. Look at her name, what her name means real quick. Because she was not in that position, like I say, she was in a great position, and she had to tell him, look, it's time to go ahead on and do what you're supposed to do. Now look what he told her. He said, I ain't going to go unless you go with me. That meant this was a woman of integrity and more.
That's right.
No, I want you with me. I mean, come on now. A lot of times, once again, we don't read the writings that support women. We only go to the ones where we try to manipulate what it means to support our views and our theories.
That's right.
Now, the Hebrew word is Devorah or Devorah, or we would say Deborah. The root of this word is Devor, the literal meaning of which is word. The name Deborah is primarily related to the word bees, and finds its root meaning in one who chases away her enemies. And one who chases away her enemies. Now you have to understand something. We only get that portion, but you're not going to tell me that as she told him this is what he needed to do, that there were not others that she said, look, we got to get this dealt with. You know, we got to nip this in the bud. Are you understanding me? Now, the war is as follows. Dalit, tent flap, tent door for coming and going. Movement in and out, to and fro. Beth, tent or house, dwelling place. Wall, optional in name. Peg, nail, to secure, connect. Fastener, resh, head, beginning, first. Hey, look, reveal, behold. Behold the woman who serves, now listen at this, as the head of her home. Now when it means, let's get to, I want to make sure I bring clarity. So I don't have no haters on here trying to come and assassinate me. You understanding me? Because the first thing people say is, ain't no woman supposed to be the head of her home. Now you have to understand something. When it comes to leadership and it comes to the ruah, if she is the leader of her home and because Yahuwah is using her, then in that aspect, she is the leader.
Yes.
But you have to understand when it comes down to the head of the household in totality, that's her husband or her ish, I'm sorry. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
We cannot try to merge the two. I am the leader of this ministry, but my ish is the leader of this family. Are you understanding? And we govern together as a mishpachah. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Because when it's all said and done, he still has the final say so. Now we communicate and we talk and we discuss, but when it's all said and done, he still has the final say so. Because I understand my position is to chase the enemies away as a leader in this ministry. And at the same time, to comfort him and to minister to him and to be there with him and for him. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
But his responsibility is to maintain this mishpachah. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So when we understand the roles, there'll be no power struggle because there's no power struggle here.
That's right.
Because we know what position we're supposed to hold. Power struggle comes in is when people don't understand their role in the relationship.
That's right.
When they don't understand their role. Understand, I handle the finances, I pay the bills because he trusts me. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Now I'm about to really go personal. He gives me his whole check because he can trust me.
That's right.
Because he know I'm going to pay the bills. He know I'm going to get it done. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Now, if he didn't trust me and I was not trustworthy, of course he shouldn't give it to me. If I'm going to play silly, take the money and go buy and do all kind of manner of things, no, don't trust me. But he could trust me because he's trusted me for what? 30-something years.
32 years.
That's right, 33. Because even before we got married,
That's
he
right.
was trusting me with his money. Are you hearing me? Understanding the roles and understanding what it is. He understands this is something Abba gave me. I didn't ask for the job. He gave it to me. But he understands in that respect, that's where I'm the leader. But he is the leader, are you understanding me, of the Mishpachah. And that's where we understand roles. We are not the Clash of the Titans. We do not have power struggles. Power struggles come, once again, when you don't understand your position. When I teach and when I do, I'm Prophetess Brown and I'm Mora. But when I'm through teaching and doing, yes, he allows me to minister. And one thing I have to say, I told him because he allows me to minister throughout the night. Because he's right there. We have no secrets. No secrets whatsoever. Everything we talk, everything I talk about, now there are things that I tell him now, you know, as a leader, there's some things I can't divulge to you. We straight on that. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Because he understands as a leader, people have to trust me and know that if they tell me something personal and private, I have to take that to Abba, not to him. Are you understanding?
Yes.
We understand these things. And when you understand these things, you have what is considered a perfect home. Perfect does not mean that there will not be times of disagreements. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Heated fellowships. Are you understanding me?
Right.
You know, them heated ones, like, but it's all in a hubbub. Are you understanding? So we understand that. So when I am not, I'm always a teacher and a leader, but you have to understand, I never pull those games or play that stuff with him. When we're talking and we dealing with each other. Either he calls me by my nickname, Tony, or I call him by his name. Are you understanding? Or it's honey and baby and sweetheart and a hubba. But we don't come in there where, you know, I'm the prophetess and no. When it comes to dealing with leadership and dealing with things, ministry, then we talk from that point of view. Are you understanding me? We don't get the wires mixed up, because when you do, that's what causes problems. And so when we're doing something, if we talk about anything, and I say, well, I don't agree with that. I don't like that. I don't come pulling that. Well, I'm the prophetess. You better do what I say. Because now I'm trying to use Yahuwah as a pit bull, or I'm trying to use my authority against him.
Right.
I'll get in trouble, and I don't want to get in trouble with Abba.
That's right.
So once again, this is how it's supposed to work. Problem comes in with a lot of brothers. They think that when you say you're a leader, that now you're trying to just take over everything. That's not so.
Right.
Not for this house. I can't speak for anybody else's, but not for this.
Right.
And she understood what she was supposed to do, and that worked well for them because they were walking in the obedience of Abba Yah. And you know when it's working, because when things start shifting and you know, okay, this happened, that happened, we're going to make sure we're doing what's right. And you might go into a situation where something may happen, like I said, we lost one vehicle, we got another one right back behind it.
That's right.
Because when you are walking in truth and you are obeying Abba Yah, there's nothing he will withhold from you.
That's right. That's right.
So we're understanding that. Are you understanding? It's a push and pull. If you've ever been on one of those things, and like I say, we play games and do stuff, and there's one game on Mario Brothers where you have to do, what is that thing, where you have to work together when you're in the railroad, or when you're in the cart, the rail cart. It's a rail cart. Now, in the rail cart, you have to work together, because if you're both doing this, you won't go nowhere. But if you know, like, okay, you take the lead and I'll follow you. If you go up, you go down, I'll go up. If I go down, you go up. And you're working together so that you can make some momentum. You can't do that if you're both trying to go down at the same time. You're going to be doing like this.
Right.
And ain't nothing going, you're not going to go anywhere. You can't do that. Just like a one-legged, what is it, three-legged race?
Yep. Yes.
Three-legged race. When you have your legs tied together, you have to learn. We were in that, y'all. We were in a competition, not to straight what I'm saying, but I'm just showing you when you work together. They had the competition. We swept everybody. We took all the baskets home. They had 3 of them. We took them all home. Because we learned. He said, now follow my lead. I went up there, no, you got to follow me. He said, follow my lead. I said, I'm on you, whatever you tell me to do. He said, we're going to take the legs that are together, and we're going to go out with them first. And we go out with them first, we're going to follow the other leg, and we're going to walk like this. Because everybody else was falling all over to the side because both of them trying to take the lead. Both of you cannot lead, with your legs. One has to follow. And so we were walking and we were walking and we were walking. And so by the time we got it, and he said, now slow down and we're going to turn. And we turned and we came back and we won off. And everybody said, wow, how were y'all able to win? Now, mind you, these are other couples. We said teamwork. Somebody has to submit while somebody leads. And it works both ways. Home and ministry. Are you understanding?
Yes.
And that's why we have a happy home. Are you understanding?
Yes.
That's important. Once again, it doesn't mean that we don't have our disagreements. That's what makes relationship good. When you can understand conflict and resolution.
That's right.
Because if you have conflict and don't have no resolution, that's way. And that's when most of the time people want to call it quits. Because they can't find middle ground to say, let's resolve this so we can move on. That's why people most of the time don't want to move on, because they say, we can't resolve this. Our conflict is too great in this place. And because there is no resolution, we just won't go our separate ways. But we have learned to find a resolution for our conflict, and that is the Torah. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, now it says, behold, the woman who serves as the head of her home, providing both security and freedom of movement within and without. Now, alternate meaning can be, behold, the woman leader who guards her home like bees do a beehive, chasing all predators away.
That's right.
And trust me, that's what I do.
Yes, that's right.
I see you coming and you ain't right. I'm reading the footnote, but we're in chapter 4, and I see it ain't right, and the Ruach tell me, that ain't right, it ain't right. I let them know that ain't right, it's not acceptable, and we ain't having it.
That's right.
And let's move on. And we're gonna smile and we're gonna be happy. You might be a little tight about the head with me for a little while, but when it's all said and done, we'll get through it. Ain't that right?
Yes.
We'll get through it. But that's my responsibility. And even though my name is not Deborah, I'm still a prophetess.
That's right.
And that's my responsibility. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, let's read, please.
Verse 10.
Mhm.
And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh. And he went up with 10,000 men at his feet, and Nebadiah went up with him.
Mhm.
Now Heba the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobah, the father-in-law of Moshiach, had severed himself from the Kenites, and pitched his tent to the plain of Zaanai, which was by Kadesh. And they showed Sisera that Barak was the son of Abinoam, was gone up to Mount Tabor. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were there with him, from Harosheth of the Gentiles to the river of Kishon. And Debarriah said to Barak, rise up, for this is the day in which Yahuwah has delivered Sisera into your hand. Is not Yahuwah gone out before you? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10 men after him. And Yahuwah destroyed Sisera and all his chariots and all his host, with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera came down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. And it is so.
And it is so. Now y'all know they were trying to use his name, talking about that's what Barack Obama was supposed to be for the people. Anyway, we're going to keep this good old joyous. It's a shame people just grab stuff out of the writing. But look what happened. She told him it's time to go in and do what has to be done. And he believed her. He said, but I'm not going to go unless you go with me. And guess what? She humbled herself and went. All right, let's read.
Meanwhile, Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Yael, the wife of Sheba the Kenite. For there was peace between Yaban, the king of Katsur, and of Sheba the Kenite. And Yael went out to Sisera and said to him, turn in, my master, turn in to me, fear not. And when he had turned when he had turned into her into the tent, she covered him with the mantle. And he said to her, "Give me, I pray you, a little maiden to drink, for I am thirsty." And she opened a bottle of milk and gave him drink and covered him. Again he said to her, "Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, when any man come and inquire of you, and say, Is there any man here? And you shall say, No." Then Yael, Shabar's wife, took a nail of the tent and took a hammer in her hand, and went softly to him and smote the nail into his temples, and fastened it into the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. How many verses?
6.
And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Yael came out to meet him and said to him, "Come, and I will show you the man whom you seek." And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples.
And so, now once again, this was these were the people of Moshe's in-laws, the Kenites, and Jael. She is one of my favorite women in the scrolls, because she dared to do a great thing. And remember, it was in Barak that a woman would be the one that would, and she did, and she was cunning. Now, watch this. She didn't try to sexual favors. He said, "Do you have water?" She said, "Sure, come on in. I mean, I have no water, but I have milk." One thing about warm milk is that it basically relaxes you. It's like a sedative. Yeah, it puts you in that. That's why they tell you, if you can't sleep, drink warm milk. I don't like no warm milk unless it's with chocolate in it. I do not like warm milk unless it has chocolate in it. But warm milk does something to the body to relax it and calm you down. And so he got to the point where he thought, well, she's not there. No foul, no harm here. He goes in, she covers him, makes him comfortable. And then when he gets sleep, she takes that peg and she jams it in his head. And she doesn't just jam it in his head, she fastens him like you would fasten wood to another piece of wood to the floor. So I'm sure when he woke up screaming, but what nothing he could do, because she was nailing him into the floor. But she made a statement. I understand. Now we're looking at two women of power. One who was not afraid to tell what Abiyah said, and also tell Barak what Yahuwah told him. Are you understanding? Yes. Didn't go in and say, "Well, she ain't a part of us, so we better not do this." She went right and had no issue. This is why, once again, whenever Yahuwah says something, just go with the flow. We can't change what he's doing, but she sure did. She made sure that they saw, and so she left him right there with the peg in his head, right in his temple, and he lay there dead. And so we see what Abiyah did. Once again, never underestimate who he wants to use. It's sad when people are so gender struck that you think that Abiyah can't use women. Why? Because of the brainwashing. Because of the Jewish sages. You have to understand they have a major problem with women. And when you let that filter over into truth, now you mess up, because you never know. It might be a woman that you need to help you, but you so genderized that you cannot see that. That's right. Well, a woman ain't supposed to do this. You start thinking, if you would just do a little more research. That's right. And stop being dogmatic about who's supposed to do what. Because your issue is gender. Right. Right. Not that what's being said is wrong, is that a woman shouldn't do it. If he could turn up there and speak through an ass, that's what the writing said, and she was female, then why is it that he has an issue with speaking to a woman? That just lets you know who really is and who isn't. Are you understanding? Yes. Once again, it's a major problem with people, our people, because they just don't want to listen. They don't want to listen because of the brainwashing. Just like when you think about it. a lot of the stuff that our people, especially men and women alike, or let me say women and men alike, we a lot of times, because we're exposed to a lot of the ways of the oppressor, we tend to adopt those ways. You know, and I'll use this as an example. We as a people, you know, back in the old days when, you know, especially when you heard about Big Mama and them and, you know, your great grandmother and your great grandpapas. My great grandmother stayed with, his name was Papa, and Papa was Yasrael, and he was Choctaw. And Papa was like a rolling stone, and he drank real bad. But one thing about Papa is that he would go, but my great grandmother remained committed to Papa. She remained committed. He was a medicine man. And she stayed with him all those years. She had 14 children by him. And I think she had 3 or 4 sets of twins. And she stayed with him. She didn't go nowhere. She didn't complain. And she didn't say anything about what was taking place. She did what she had to do. Now, Papa would do his stuff, but he would come and he would take care of his responsibility. Nowadays, when you get to talking about relationships, look at the stuff and the examples that are put out there for us as a people. You got LA, what is it, the women of Atlanta? I hardly don't know the name because I don't watch that foolishness. The basketball wives and all the rest of that stuff. But this is where people tend to draw their counsel from.
Right.
Oprah,
Love and hip hop.
Oh my. And so this is where they draw their counsel from. And so now, instead of us looking for resolutions, we're looking for a whole nother avenue to go in. Why? Because this is what we've been taught to do. Where when you go and you look in other people's lives and you start thinking, yeah, they didn't tell you to leave your man, but they still at home taking all that stuff. I heard somebody say a piece of a man is better than a man, but I look at it like this: if you get a great woman with a man, she'll make him a whole man, not a piece of a man.
Right. That's right.
And a bad woman will take a good man or a great man and make him a piece of a man. That's why you have to use wisdom in choosing who you're going to be with for the rest of your life.
That's right. That's right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Because truly, women understand the power that they possess, and so do men. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get with the right person that can help to cultivate, and I don't want to use the word shape in a loose way, but help to bring you to potentials in your life, they will destroy you.
That's right.
They'll destroy you. Yes, they will. And so it's important that we understand these things. But we were taught these things, once again, Western way of life. Everybody know your business. Facebook is, and all the social medias, they now are the counselors. You know, everybody put up their problems on Facebook. Mm-hmm. He did this, he did that. And I'm like, well, you know what? You ain't gonna get no resolution there because you're gonna have everybody, you'll get a billion hits on that. But then somebody say, y'all, we need to live by Torah and we need to Haba Yahuwah. You might have 1 or 2 likes.
Right.
And everybody else trying to get in there. You start thinking, how you gonna counsel somebody and you having issues? Sit down. Sit down. Are you hearing me? But once again, this is what we use when that's what we did. At one time, we didn't use that. Once again, we were taught, keep your business at home.
That's right.
You hear me? Keep your business at home. And if you did, remember, like I said, this is when we're in Christianity, you went and you talked to your preacher. That's when you could trust them. Nowadays, I wouldn't advise nothing like that. Are you understanding? Because that's not the right way anyway.
Right.
But once again, you gotta have somebody that's gonna help you. You gotta have somebody that's gonna help you.
That's right.
And nowadays, once again, if we're walking in Torah and we know and we need to find somebody that's gonna help us so that we can make sure that we've done everything we can to make sure that we do everything that He's told us to do so that we can maintain that right relationship with Him. Are you understanding?
Yes.
And it is so. All right, let's finish reading, please.
Just the end of it, and that's it.
You will read the end of that, and then you're going to go to chapter 5 and read verse 31. So you're going to read 22, 23, 24, chapter 5, verse 31.
You should even do 22 or 23.
Yeah, 23, 24, 5, 31.
So Elohim subdued on the day of Yabin, the king of Canaan, for the children of Israel. And the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed against Jabin, the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, king of Canaan. 32,
Chapter 5, 31.
31. So let all your enemies perish, O Yahuwah, but let them that love him be as the sun when he goes forth in his might, and the land hath rested 40 years.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now, let us turn our attention to the book of Yehukanim. This is our Brit Hadasha portion, chapter 6, and we're going to start at verse 6. Which is page? Yes. 1545. Once again, Yehukanim, which is John chapter 6, verse 6. And we're going to read, let's read 7 verses. Let's read 7 verses. You my reader?
Yes.
Okay.
Euclid chapter 6,
Mm-hmm.
verse 6 to 12.
Because we're doing seven verses.
And this he said to prove him, for himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 silver coins worth like him is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of the disciples, Andri, Shimon Kepha's brother, said to him, there is a lad here which has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? And Yahusha said, make the man sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so that the man sat down, in number about 5,000. And Yahusha took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed the loaves to those that were seated. He did the same with the fishes, as much as they wanted. When they were filled, he said to his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. And it is so.
And it is so. Gather up the fragments. Now, this is talking about the house of Yasrael. Now, let's look at barley loaves and the 2 fish. 5 loaves, the number of mercy, and the number of the book of the Torah. The 2 small fish are the 2 houses of Yasrael. They are small, indicating they both need maturity in Torah obedience. All right, let's read. Are we at 8? Verse 8? I'm sorry, verse 13. I'm sorry.
Verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
3 verses.
7.
Okay. Verse 13, and it reads, therefore they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above to them that had eaten. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Yahusha did, said, this is of a truth that prophet that should come into the world. When Yahusha therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain himself alone. And when the evening was now come, his disciples went down to the sea, and entered into a boat, and went over the sea toward Kephar Nahum. And it was now dark, and Yahusha did not go with them. And the sea arose by reason of a great wind that blew. Verse 19, and it reads, so when they had rowed about 24 or 25 or 30 furlongs, they saw Yahusha walking on the sea and drawing near to the boat, and they were afraid. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, now they're getting ready to go to the other side, and they don't recognize him. But once again, this is looking at miracles. They did not accept him until they saw the miracles, and he said, I must leave because if I don't, they're going to try to make me a king here. Now, once again, important to understand, he did that to save them, safeguard them, because they would have lost their lives.
Right.
So he moved and left to safeguard them. So it's important that we understand, once again, looking at miracles that take place. But now we're seeing another miracle. Now let's read.
7 verses.
Yes.
But he said to them, It is I, be not afraid. Then they willingly received him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at the land where they went. The day following, when the people which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was no other boat there, except that one whereunto his disciples were entered, and that Yahushua with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples were gone alone. But there came other boat from Tiberias near to the place where they did eat lechem. After that, Yahuwah had given thanks. Verse 24. When the people therefore saw that Yahushua was not there, neither his disciples, they also took the boat and came to Kafar Nahum, seeking for Yahushua. And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you come here? Yahushua answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say to you, you seek me not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, once again, they saw that he did not go with his disciples. His disciples were afraid when they were out there because you have to understand paranormal activity was going on at that time. You were subject to see a ghost pop up somewhere.
Right.
You were. It was really, and that they were afraid because they didn't know who was out there walking.
Right.
Nowadays, there are certain pockets that you could see paranormal activity, demonic spirits and stuff. Because they do exist. Don't ever think for one moment that demons don't exist, because they do.
Right.
Yes, they do. And they will manifest themselves to you, and they will even talk to you. They will do all kind of crazy stuff, but you better know how to rebuke them.
Right.
And it is so. And because they do exist. And so this is why they were afraid. And so, as they go on, the people go through all kind of lengths to try to find him. I mean, they just went and they went. Why? Once again, because it was not because of what they saw, but because they wanted the food. They wanted the food. They were following after him for the fishes and the loaves. They didn't care nothing about him. And this is one of the major things that Christianity does. And the reason why I say that, because we know, those of us that were in Christianity, that it is.
Right.
The number one thing, you constantly, the drive is money, 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 because you got to be rich, rich, rich. What about the money to help, build? Are you understanding me?
Yes.
When you have people bragging about jets and you have people bragging about all this and there's still people hungry and still people in their congregation that can't pay their bills. We've known people. I'm talking about we've been close to people that have gone to these big mega ministries and they can't afford to pay their bills, but then they go and you're commanded, not asked, commanded to give $10,000 and $15,000. And you signing applications. I ain't signing no application to be in nobody's nothing.
Right.
Now, I understand commitment. Now, don't get me wrong, because I do believe that you should pay your tithes.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because tithes help in building, and it helps with keeping everything the way it's supposed to flow.
Right.
Lights, water, and all that stuff don't stay on because we're in there praising it.
Right.
That takes finances. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Just like you run a home, you run ministry the same way. Then there are things and outlets that you want to sow into, and that's where that comes to. Are you understanding?
Yeah.
And then as a leader, if you look in there, as a leader, because I teach, it is not against Torah for me to say, okay, you can pay your tithes here. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
I'm not out of order.
Right.
That's one of the things we have to understand. But we talking about these people here who were greedy. They weren't going after him because he was talking to them about their state. They was like, wait a minute, you mean tell me he can bring more food and we don't have to pay anything? That's free. That's a free meal. Now, When we would go, we would never do this, no, seriously. But there were people I knew that would go to church just to go eat. Yep. You see who they laughing? Just to eat. Just to go grab a meal. They would. Now, you have to understand, when we were in Christianity, and we knew people were coming because I tried to maintain a sensitive spirit. And there were times when we would basically say, okay, we need this for that. But because I was sensitive, I knew that there were people that didn't have money, so most time we'd end up giving it all away and wouldn't make a dime off of it. We'd give it away. Because I'm like, well, I'm going to ask you for $5 and you only have $2. You came here on a prayer. Are you understanding? Mm-hmm. So when you leave, you'll leave with your what we thought was right, your spirit filled, and your belly full. Are you understanding? Yes. And we would have nothing. Mm-hmm. But to me, that was not nothing. That was everything in the world. To feed somebody that's hungry. Are you understanding me? Yes. And not boast about it, because I'm not boasting about it now. Right. But you have to understand, there are those out there that they don't care what the state of the people are. You're going to get this money. You want to be here, you're going to get this money, or you're going to leave. Are you understanding me? And then people follow behind that because they want the same thing. Show me how to do that. Show me how to get that. Show me how I can get that same thing. Because I want that. You know, people follow after stuff that they think is prestigious and, and think, well, he in that because why? Because they prospering. Right. They driving this, they're driving that, they driving a Bentley. You're thinking that they paying for that Bentley. Are you understanding me? You don't know the headache they have when they go to sleep at night. You don't know the fears that be on people when they driving that. Because you got to remember, they got to keep up a standard. That's why they rape the sheep in order to keep their lifestyle. That's what they do. They rape the sheep to keep their lifestyle. And so when we were in that, that's one of the things I would not do. I would not do that. People walked away from here with more than they left. Because I didn't play that, and I don't play that now. Are you understanding me? Yes. But these were the ones that just only wanted what they could get. We can get this, then we're going to attach ourselves to him because he gives out this, and it don't cost us nothing. Right. And he confronted them about this very thing. He confronted them. He answered them, he said, verily, verily, I say to you, you seek me not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. That's all. That's the only reason why you want to come. And people, when we were in Christianity, once again, people thought we were, you have churches that are built on revivals. Revival every week. Revival, revival, revival. And when they realized that that's not the way we were, and if I had a revival because that's what I felt we needed, one time, and then everybody thought, well, when they come back, this ain't that place. This ain't no fast food restaurant. You gonna learn, and if we need somebody, we will bring them. If not, no. But that's what people are built upon. And he confronted them. He said, you don't want this. Then look what he tells them. Labor not for the food which perishes, but for that food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give to you. For him has power the Abba sealed. In other words, he said, don't work yourself to death trying to make ends meet. Because they don't never meet. Because the more we run after it, the farther away it gets from us. It's the truth. We were working trying to make stuff happen. And let me tell you something, when you start walking in truth and truth starts walking in you, whatever you need and whatever you have desire of that's in the writings, he'll give it to you. We wanted land, we have land. We needed another vehicle. We needed a bigger truck. My Ish was driving a small truck, and he's a big man, y'all. You know he's 6'3". And he had one, what was that small brown truck? Ranger. A little Ranger. So he'd be in there with kids, he'd be driving like Mr. Incredible. In that little car, Mr. Incredible. He was driving like this, and I said, y'all, my husband needed my baby need a bigger truck. He just need one. And so we needed a truck, and we saw one. Sean found one, but it's my truck. And he said, this is a good one. I said, I like that. That Ford truck has a 5.0 motor in it, and it ain't hurting for nothing. The body may be ugly, but let me tell you something, that truck can get. Yeah, that's right. And when he's sitting in there, he got all the room he needs. Right. And he'll be sitting looking like Mr. Incredible in there. So I said, Toda Abiyah. He'll give you what you need. Are you understanding me? Yes. When you show him, I'm not after this for the fish and loaves. I'm here because I understand what I need to do, and we maintain that because we have to trust him. Now let me ask you this. When everything fails and there are no more jobs, what are we going to do? What we going to do? We're going to trust him. We're going to trust him. So that means that you have to trust him now, even when you have everything. Because when the jobs stop being jobs, you have to trust him. Are you understanding me? You
Yes.
have to trust him. And that's what we're doing.
That's right. That's right.
And it is so.
It is so.
All right, let's read, please. Seven verses. You got it, verse 28. Okay, go.
Verse 28.
Mhm.
Then said they to him, what shall we do that we might work the works of power? Yahusha answered and said to them, this is the work of power, that you believe on him whom he has sent. They said therefore to him, what sign do you show then, that we may see and believe you? What would you do? Our folk did eat manna in the desert. As it is written, he gave them the kem from the Shemaim to eat. Then Yahusha said to them, verily, verily, I say to you, Moshe gave you not that lekem from the Shemaim, but my Abba gives you the true lekem from the Shemaim. For the lekem of power is he which comes down from the Shemaim, and gives life to the world. And said they to him, Master Adon Power, give us this lekem all the time. And Yahusha said to them, I am the lekem of life. He that comes to me shall never hunger, and he that believes on me shall never thirst. And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, he had to give them a quick history lesson, and he had to bring them up to speed. Because once again, they had this thing twisted. They had it all out of consort. He said, look, once again, he said, but my Abba gives you the true Lakim from Shemayim. For the Lakim of power is he who comes down from Shemayim and gives life to the world. Now you have to understand, first to the children of Yisrael, and if anybody desires to walk in this, they come second. Are you understanding me? But to us first. Now, once again, then he said to him, we say sovereign Adam, give us this Lakim all the time. Now, once again, you have to understand, what is the mindset there? You have to look at what people look at. In other words, give me a means that I will never have to work and have to want for anything. And he's not talking about that. He's talking about eternal life. This is where you deal with people that are carnal minded. And most of the time when they take this part of the writings in the scroll, that's what they use it for from a carnal perspective. Well, if you do this, you will never want for anything. You have to understand, he's talking about eternal life, not talking about our everyday living. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
When we are in him, no, we don't have to worry about whether or not we're going to eat the next day. He's going to take care of us. But you can't put that before the cart, the horse before the cart. It's about salvation first. Then everything else follows. But they were wanting something else. And he had to bring it to them. And Yahusha said to them, I am the light of life. He that comes to me shall never hunger, and he that believes on me shall never thirst. Two things, believe and come after. Pursue, believe. Believe, pursue. It works hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, let's read. Verse 36, let's do 7 verses.
But I said to you, that you also have seen and believe not. All that the Abba gives me shall come to me, and those that come to me I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from Shemayim, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Abba's will which has sent me, that of all which he has given me I shall lose nothing, but shall raise it up again at the last day. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which sees the Son and believes on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up again. I will raise him up at the last day. The Yehudim then complained because he said, I am the Lakim, which came down from Shemayim. And they said, is this not Yahusha, the son of Joseph, whose Abba and mother we know? How is it that then, he said, I came down from Shemayim? And it is so.
And it is so. And look who was saying it, the Yehuda, not the children of Yisrael. They right then and there began to accuse him and then talk about his family. He said, I shall lose nothing. Remember, he said, those that he's given to me are going to come to me. And listen what he says. And he said, that last day I will raise them up. Someone asked, why is it that now we are coming to an understanding and we're seeing this? Because this is the raising up. He's raising us up and bringing us into truth. This is why it's important. Remember when he told Ezekiel, eat the what? The whole roll? It's important that we eat the whole roll. You can't eat part of it. You can't eat just the good stuff on the inside and leave the outside.
Right.
You got to eat it all.
Right.
Every last bit of it. And once again, it's important that we understand that. Now, they began to accuse him because he said he came down from Shammai. And so it's important that we see. Now, in that where he says, whose Abba and mother we know. Now, according to a lot of the Jewish writings, a lot of the sages, when they said they knew Miriam, which people have come to know her because of the Roman Catholics, as Mary, many of them would speak very ill of her. Excuse me. Many of them said she was a hairdresser. They said she was a prostitute. They had so many sayings about her. Are you understanding me? That's why they were smug. And when they said, is this not the one we know? In other words, oh, we know who he come from. Once again, a lot of things that were thrown up there, false accusations, rumors, and things to basically try to discredit him because of the life of his Ima, which we know was not true. Are you understanding? Yes. But this is what they did. This is what you call dirty works. This is what they're trying to do, throw a bad light on him so that people would not listen to him. So let's read.
You should therefore answer and say to them, complain not among yourselves. No man can come to me except our which sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. And it is written in prophets, and they shall all be taught of Yahuwah. Every man, therefore, that has heard and has learned of Allah comes to me. Not that any man shall see save which is of power, he has seen the Father. Verily, verily, I say to you, he that believes has everlasting life. I am Lamek, life, and the Allah did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. It is so.
And it is so. And they are dead. He said, but you eat this Lakim, we eat of him, consume him, we will not die. All right, let's read 50, 51, 52, 53, 4, 5, and 6.
This is the lechem which come down from Shemaim, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living lechem which came down from Shemaim. If any man eats of this lechem, he shall live forever. And the lechem that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. The Yehudim therefore strong among themselves, saying, how can this man give us flesh to eat? Then Yahusha said to them, verily, verily, I say to you, except you eat of the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoso eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood dwells in me, and I in him. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, with that saying, that was a very hard saying for them, because people that are carnal-minded cannot understand that what he said to them. Now, he was not telling them to commit cannibalism. But many times is what happens. Now this is what the Roman Catholics do. They take that wafer, which is called the wafer god, that little round thing, and they take it and they basically offer it up, and they say that that's what Jesus does. They say he comes and he transcends into that wafer, and it becomes Jesus, and they eat it, and then they drink the blood, and that's how they get it. That's carnal, and that's not truth. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Even communion is wrong, because you don't take and the blood are reference to the keeping Torah and not eating literal meat. In other words, that's not eating his flesh and so forth. Flesh and blood in view are both related to the Torah commandments. Flesh is meat, meaning the embodiment of the commandment, while the blood is seen as the wine of the Torah, a sort of oil to say that keeps an engine going, if you can picture the engine to be Torah. In other words, that's how we take it and how we live by it. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Once again, it's not literally taking that, but that's the concept. It's the embodiment in us. He gave it to me in this manner. We are the natural habitation for the Torah. Just like a seed is placed into a ground, so is a seed, the Torah, placed within us. And when we open up and receive it and we cover it with our belief, we begin to grow in every area of our lives, just like a seed begins to grow from the earth.
That's right.
That's the importance of understanding it. That's the embodiment of it. Are you understanding?
Yes.
And this is how we're supposed to live and conduct our lives. And guess what? And when we show forth the fruit, it shows that we have accepted it and we're growing by it. If we don't see any fruit, that means something is wrong.
That's right.
And the fruit is obedience to everything that he's given unto us. And it is so.
It is so.
All right, let's read.
As the living Abba has sent me, and I live by the Abba, so he that consumed me, even he shall live by me. This is that the king which came down from Shemaim. Not as your Abba did eat manna are dead. He that eats of this Lakim shall live forever.
Now hold that thought. Now he's talking to who? The children of Yisrael. Remember, he said, not as your Abbas. So that means he's not talking to who? Everybody.
That's right.
He's only talking to the descendants, to the prostitute of Yisrael.
Right.
Not everybody else. This is why when he's talking to them, the reference is, you should understand this. You should be well versed or understand what's being said to you. But because you're not walking in it, of course it's going to go over your head. Are you understanding?
Yes.
All right, let's read.
These things said he in the synagogue, as he taught in Kafar Nahum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they had heard this, said, This is a difficult saying, who can understand it? When Yahusha knew it himself, that his disciples complained, he said to them, Does this offend you? What and if ye shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before? It is the Ruach that quickens, the flesh profits nothing. The word that I speak to you, they are Ruach, and they are life. And it is so.
And it is so. He said they are ruach and they are life. In other words, come on now, let's look at this. Don't second guess. Both the ruach and life are references to the living Torah, which is Mashiach pointing back to the Torah. So that's important for us to understand. All right, let's read.
7 verses.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 64. But there are some of you that believe not. For Yahusha knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who should betray him. And he said, Therefore I said to you, that no man can come to me, except the Abba has allowed him to come. From that time many of his disciples went back, and walked no more with him. Then said Yahusha to the 12, Will you also go away? Then Shimon Kepha answered him, Master, to whom shall we go? You have words of eternal life. Verse 69. And we have come to believe that you are the set apart one of Yahuwah. Yahusha answered them, Have not I chosen ye 12, and one of you is a devil?
And it is so.
Go ahead and read verse 71 too.
Okay. Verse 71. He spoke of Yehuda from Quiroth, the son of Shimon, for he it was that should betray him, being one of the 12.
And it is so. Now, once again, as you look from the Torah portion to the HaTorah portion to the Hadasha portion, we see everything evolving. We see everything almost like going through a time machine. You go from there to the prophets, and from the prophets we go to the Brit Hadasha, the renewed covenant, and we see after this saying, many of them walked away from him, and they would not follow him anymore. Once again, you have to understand, everybody is not going to remain. Everybody's not going to stay. Because this is about relationship. And it's not about what we can get. It is about our relationship with him.
That's right.
And many people are going to turn away. That's going to be where you see the great falling away. See, one thing I learned when we were in Christianity, they taught about a great falling away, but there can be no falling away until you are walking in truth.
That's right.
Because you can't fall away from what's false because you're already away.
Right.
It's like already talking about falling off a cliff and you're already at the bottom of it. You can't. You're already at the bottom of it. But there's going to be a falling away because people are looking for something that is not going to evolve. And this is going to cause many people to walk away. That's why it's important that, as he tells us, to bind what? Bind it to the mind. Because if it's bound to the mind, it's already saturated in the heart.
Yes.
His writings, his instructions. It did not permeate and it did not meet them in the renewed covenant because they did. There are still things that we as a people are going to go through. If we just in it thinking that we're going to hurry up and quickly get out of this, we in for a rude awakening. Because there's still much that we're going to go through and deal with as a people. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
This is why it is important that we understand what he's saying to them now is nothing that should surprise us because it's being said even now. People are walking away because they can't have it their way. Understand? Don't believe that lie that Burger King says, have it your way. You still don't have it your way, you have it their way. They just condition you to believe that you get your way because they made you want it their way. Go up there and ask them for a beef rib sandwich. You said I can have it my way. No, the understanding is you have to get what's on the menu and you can have it your way. Well, I want to mix that sandwich. No, you can't mix that sandwich up. You got to get it this way. What they do is they make you want it their way so you believe it's your way. You have to understand that's not what Yahuwah does.
That's right.
He gives it to us his way. And we are supposed to understand this is his way and we desire it that way because it's his way.
That's right.
No hidden agendas, no teeny tiny fine print. Everything is on the straight up. And that's the way we're supposed to see it. And he said, therefore I say to you that no man can come to me except the Abba has allowed him to come. Let me tell y'all something. That right there ought to truly pierce our hearts. Because guess what? We came to him because he allowed us to.
That's right.
So for everybody that has not, it's either not their timing or he has not allowed it. We don't gloat in it, but we rejoice that we are one of the ones that he allowed us to come.
That's right.
And that's just the truth. That's just real. Are you understanding me? That's real. Then he says, from that time, many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. So you know what their fate was. We're not talking about people that were not true. We're talking about the ancestors of the tribes. They were the prostitutes, but they found it too hard to accept it. So many of them that this belonged to said, I can't do it, and walked away. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Then said Yahushua to the 12, will you also go away? That's something to ask. Because you have to understand, he's not asking just for the sake of number.
That's right.
Because if they walked away, who would carry the torch and who would continue to promote the truth? Once again, that's where we got to look at ourselves. If we walk away and we don't walk in this thing the way we're supposed to, then who's going to preach it and teach it if we don't?
Right.
That's important for us to understand and hold on to. Then Shimon Kepha answered him, Sovereign Adon, to whom shall we go? To whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. In other words, you have Torah. There's nowhere else to go. there's nowhere else for me to go but up.
That's right.
Christianity ain't even an option of or in the view. And surely I ain't going back in the world. Because ain't nothing out there either. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Talking about Mafia Central. No. I don't want that life. And we have come to believe that you are the set apart one of power. This is what we have come to believe and have to hold on to that and not let it go. And he said, have I not chosen you all, and one is the devil? Now you have to understand, this is the heart of Yahushua speaking now to his disciples. You have to see his heart now. He said, I chose y'all, and one of y'all is the devil. And who was the devil? Yehuda, from the tribe he came out of. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
I think at that time he was letting his heart be revealed. Because you have to understand, he was still flesh and blood.
That's right. That's right.
And he was showing, I chose y'all, and yet one of y'all is the devil. Once again, we have to see the heart of Yahuwah through Yahusha in this. We have to see it. And we have to maintain. My prayer, my mentality is this. You don't have to ask me that, will I go away? Because I'm fighting for my life to hold on. Not that it's a struggle, because it is not. But you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You every day you read, every day you wake up, you're fighting to maintain. Not because you're struggling to hold on, but it's a fight.
Yes, that's right.
You got to hold on, because you got to understand the world and Christianity wants you back. It don't want to let you go, because it realized when it lost us, it lost a great thing. And so it's important that we understand how we're supposed to govern our lives. Once again, very important for us to understand, after he let them go, the path that they walked in. We're out. Now let's use wisdom with that what he's given us and the time that he's given unto us, and let's walk in the freedom and in the liberty that he's given us, and let us not be foolish with our time and with our words.
That's right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
It's most important that we understand that, and it is so.
And it is
And it is so. Come on, put your hands together and esteem him this day. Hallelujah, hallelujah. It is important that we remember everything that was said. Once again, I always let people know I am not a microwave oven. I believe in slow cooking, and I believe in cooking it the way it's given. He gave it to us, and it's important for us to have it all. You don't ever bake a cake or bake or do whatever and not put all the ingredients in it, because we miss out. You really won't have a cake, you'll have a mess. And so it's important that we understand the Torah, the Haftorah, and the Brit Hadashah work in consort. It is important that we understand that these principles and these instructions are given to us to build our belief in him. And we see the stages that they went through. It's important that we understand that, so that we can follow in that and we can see what not to do and also see what we're supposed to do. Once again, I pray that Abba Yah will continue to baruch your time of rest, and that while you are meditating and while you are celebrating this time of rest, that Abba Yah would minister to your heart the things from the Torah as we have gone through them. Once again, whenever you're making a sandwich, unless you're making a fold, you use what? 2 pieces of bread. And you put the good stuff in between it. So once again, we want to make sure we have everything. So at the end of the day, when we need to reference something, we can reference it back and see that it is there, so we can have the complete thought, the complete analysis of everything that we have, so that we will always be ready, no matter what situation we find ourselves in. Once again, I want to say to you, we are harbor you, we're praying with you, we're praying for you, and I pray that today, the rest of your day, will be filled with the shalom of Abba Yah, and he will continue to lead and guide you. In the mighty name of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, and it is so. And it is so. Once again, I am Prophetess Sabrina Brown, also World 777, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Bread Belief Ministries, located in South Carolina. Once again, I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Bread Belief Ministries, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yah Baruch Atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it
This is